wherever you are world over, we extend a very और स्वतंत्रता दिवस की हार्दिक शुभकामनाओं में आज 75वें आजादी के अमृत महोत्सव पर ये बात हवाओं को बताए रखना, रोशनी होगी चिरागों को जलाए रखना, लहू देकर जिसकी हिफाजत हमने की, ऐसे तिरंगे को सदा दिल से लगाए रखना। दैट इज समथिंग विच कम्स फ्रॉम ए सोल्जर। आज माननीय प्रधानमंत्री ने अमृत काल के लिए जो आवश्यकता बताई, जय जवान, जय किसान, जय विज्ञान और जय अनुसंधान की, वो भी अपने आप में एक अनूठी चीज थी। और उन्होंने बताया कि ये कैसा देश है, जो हमारा भारत देश है, वो किस तरीके से सारी चीजों का, हर चीज का सम्मान करता है। हम वो लोग हैं जो जीव में शिव देखते हैं, हम वो लोग हैं जो नर में नारायण देखते हैं, हम वो लोग हैं जो नारी में नारायणी को कहते हैं, और हम वो लोग हैं जो पौधों में परमात्मा देखते हैं, हम वो लोग हैं जो नदी को मां मानते हैं, हम वो लोग हैं जो कंकर कंकर में शंकर देखते हैं। दैट वाज समथिंग व्हिच वाज फ्रॉम द ऑनरेबल प्राइम मिनिस्टर ऑफ इंडिया दिस मॉर्निंग, लेडीज एंड जेंटलमैन। दैट वाज समथिंग रिमार्केबल। अमृतकाल के एक उन्होंने 5 प्रण के बारे में भी बोला, और वो 5 प्रण हैं, बहुत बड़े संकल्प को लेकर चलना होगा। ये पहला प्रण। दूसरा प्रण, गुलामी, जो हमारी गुलामी का एक भी अंश है तो उसे बचने नहीं देना है। तीसरा प्रण, हमें हमारी विरासत पर गर्व होना चाहिए। चौथा प्रण, एकता और एकजुटता। और 5वां प्रण, नागरिकों का क्या कर्तव्य है, ये भी माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जी ने आज सुबह हम सबको बताया। सो आईसीएसआई की तरफ से, इंटरनेशनल चेंबर फॉर सर्विस इंडस्ट्री की तरफ से आप सभी का आज की सुबह, आज की दोपहर, आज की शाम, आप विश्व में जहां भी हैं, आप सभी का बहुत बहुत हार्दिक अभिनंदन, हार्दिक स्वागत। और हम इस यात्रा में सब इकट्ठे आगे चलते हैं, और आज की जर्नी में हम इस पूरे विश्व के साथ जुड़ते हुए, आपने एनआरआई भाई बहनों के साथ, आपके साथ सबसे पहले ये शेयर करना चाहेंगे कि एक सप्ताह पहले 8 अगस्त को हमने एक विशेष कार्यक्रम शुरू किया अंडर द डायनेमिक लीडरशिप ऑफ पद्म भूषण प्रोफेसर जगदीश एन शेठ जी। और उस दिन हमारे साथ सेक्टर स्किल काउंसिल और निटर के जो डायरेक्टर हैं वो आए। उसके बाद हम डॉक्टर प्रीति शरॉफ मेहता के साथ शिकागो गए। ये सब एनआरआई भाई बहन हैं। डॉक्टर के गणेश साहब जुड़े। ये सब टीचर्स को करने की तैयारी है कि किस तरीके से आप पूरे विश्व का ध्यान रख सकते हैं। डॉक्टर बीएन सेतना साहब जुड़े। और उसके बाद हम कनाडा गए सूर्य विजय शास्त्री कोटामार्ती जी और विकास मल्होत्रा जी के साथ। और कल रात्रि को डॉक्टर अशोक सक्सेना साहब थे हमारे साथ, जिन्होंने अपने विचारों का आदान प्रदान किया और उन्होंने स्टेम एजुकेशन के बारे में बहुत बातचीत की। अब मैं अपने चेंबर की तरफ से 1 मिनट का समय लेकर एक स्थायी और एक अंतर, क्योंकि पुनः भारत को विश्व गुरु बनना है, और अगर भारत को विश्व गुरु दोबारा बनना है और हमने अपनी खोई हुई पोजीशन को वापस लेना है, तो हमें अपने टीचर्स को रिस्पेक्ट करनी होगी, हमें अपने टीचर्स को रिस्पेक्ट देनी होगी। और अगर हम अपने टीचर्स को रिस्पेक्ट देंगे तो तभी आप ये सोचिए कि भारत आगे बढ़ पाएगा। तो इन्हीं शब्दों के साथ 1 मिनट का समय लेते हुए मैं प्रयास करूंगा कि हम ये जो गीत है, जो विशेषकर हमारे चेंबर ने आप सबके लिए बनाया है, उस गीत को हम आप तक पहुंचाएं।
विश्व गुरु बनना है भारत, भारत का सम्मान करो। विश्व गुरु बनना है सम्मान करो। शिक्षा के पथ पे आगे बढ़ कर, शिक्षा के पथ पे आगे बढ़ कर सबका ही कल्याण करो। भारत का सम्मान करो, भारत का सम्मान करो।
समय कम होने की वजह से मैं पूरा गीत नहीं बजा रहा हूं, क्योंकि समय शुरू में हमारा काफी चला गया, तो इस वजह से मैं इस गीत को यहीं रोकता हूं। एक विशेष गीत हमने भारत को पुनः विश्व गुरु का स्थापना करने के लिए बनाया है, तो इसको हम आगे आपके लिए लेकर चलेंगे। और अब आया वो समय, क्योंकि कहते हैं कि किसी से भी उनके विचार लेने से पहले आप उन्हें सम्मानित कीजिए, आप उन्हें जितनी रिस्पेक्ट दे सकते हैं दीजिए। तो आज की शाम खास हम सम्मानित करना चाहेंगे आप सभी महानुभाव को जो लोग जुड़े हैं। सबसे पहले प्रोफेसर जगदीश एन शेठ साहब, प्रोफेसर ऑफ बिजनेस इन द यूएसए, एंड इनकी डायनामिक लीडरशिप में हमने इस कार्यक्रम को लेकर चले। उसके बाद श्री संजय अवस्थी जी, द फॉर्मर मेंबर सेक्रेटरी ऑफ द नेशनल काउंसिल फॉर टीचर एजुकेशन, इनका बहुत बड़ा योगदान है। समय समय पर ये अपनी एडवाइस हमारे चेंबर को देते रहते हैं कि हम अच्छे टीचर्स कैसे बना सकते हैं। पॉल पॉन्थ्रिप श्री नरूला, ये हॉस्पिटैलिटी के बहुत बड़े लीडर हैं। थाईलैंड में इनका अपना 5 स्टार होटल है। ये हमारे चेंबर के 3 साल प्रेसिडेंट भी रह चुके हैं। इनका साउथ ईस्ट एशिया को हमारे साथ जोड़ने का बहुत बड़ा कंट्रीब्यूशन है। सुनील एच तलाती जी, ये चेयरमैन हैं सर्विसेज एक्सपोर्ट प्रमोशन काउंसिल के। इनका भी बहुत बड़ा कंट्रीब्यूशन है, क्योंकि एजुकेशन की सर्विसेज का भी एक्सपोर्ट अपने आप में बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है। डॉक्टर शिल्पी मोहन मैम, ये सेंट्रल एशिया से किर्गिस्तान से जुड़ते हैं, और इनका भी पूरे हमारे कोरोना काल में बहुत बड़ा सहयोग रहा, जिसके लिए हम इनको आभार प्रकट करते हैं। कनाडा से मैडम गुरप्रीत सेबल मैम हैं, ये वेलनेस की एक्सपर्ट हैं। इन्होंने वेलनेस के लिए बहुत बड़ा कंट्रीब्यूशन हमें दिया। मालिक गामो जी, जो कि सेक्रेटरी जनरल हैं बुद्धिज्म के इंडियन हिमालयन काउंसिल ऑफ नालंदा बुद्धिस्ट ट्रेडिशन, इनका भी हम बहुत बहुत आभार प्रकट करते हैं। प्रोफेसर एसपी सिंह जी, ऑनरेबल वाइस चांसलर, रॉयल ग्लोबल यूनिवर्सिटी गुवाहाटी में हैं, नॉर्थ ईस्ट इंडिया का इनका एक अपना अलग तरीके का फ्लेवर है, और ये पूरे नॉर्थ ईस्ट को एक सूत्र में बांधने की हमेशा प्रयास करते हैं। प्रेमा मुरलीधर मैम, ये यूएई के अंदर हैं, और दुबई से और अबू धाबी से और शारजा से और ओमान से और दोहा कतर से जितने भी हमारे लोग शिक्षा के प्रणाली में जुड़े हुए हैं, उनके साथ प्रेमा मुरलीधर मैम लेके आती हैं। पांडुरंग बी तवारे जी, आपका भी बहुत बहुत हार्दिक सब अभिनंदन है। आप प्रेसिडेंट हैं एग्री टूरिज्म इंडिया के, और देखिए अगर बच्चों को सह रोजगार उनको तैयार करना है एंटरप्रेन्योरशिप में, तो एग्री टूरिज्म का, रूरल टूरिज्म का, नेचर टूरिज्म का अपने आप में बहुत बड़ा योगदान है। हम आपका भी आभार प्रकट करते हैं, क्योंकि आप कोरोना काल में हमारे साथ आए। प्रोफेसर डॉक्टर देवेंद्र पाठक जी, COO फॉर एकेडमी ऑफ द मैनेजमेंट इंस्टीट्यूट, इनका भी बहुत कंट्रीब्यूशन रहा। रविंद्रनाथ जी, ये फॉर्मर चेयरमैन एंड मैनेजिंग डायरेक्टर नेशनल स्मॉल स्केल इंडस्ट्रीज कॉरपोरेशन के मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ MSME में हैं, और वहां से सेवानिवृत्त होकर ये चेयरमैन है हमारे MSME सेक्टर के। हर बार बच्चों के लिए कुछ नया नया लेकर आते हैं कि स्टार्टअप में क्या करना है, आगे क्या करना है, तो आपका भी हम बहुत आभार प्रकट करते हैं। डॉक्टर प्रिया विश्वेश्वरन मैम, आप और आपके फादर, आपके पिताजी के हम बहुत ऋणी हैं। आपने वेलनेस पार्क एस्टेब्लिश किया है यूएसए में। आपने वेलनेस के लिए कितने सप्ताह हमारे लिए विशेष कार्यक्रम किए हैं, और आपके पिताश्री ने हमारे लिए एक विशेष कार्यक्रम किया, जहां पर एंटरप्रेन्योरशिप के लिए बच्चों को नए तरीके से बताया गया। प्रोफेसर विवेक शंकर नटराजन जी, आप तो हमारे अपने हैं, आप एडवाइजर हैं आईसीएसआई के अमेरिका से, प्रोफेसर ऑफ मार्केटिंग है लामार यूनिवर्सिटी में। आपका भी हम बहुत बहुत आभार प्रकट करते हैं और आपका स्वागत करते हैं। मैंने सोचा कि इन सब चीजों को बीच में ही लेकर चलना चाहिए। अब तालियां बजती ना रहें, इन तालियों को बंद करना भी जरूरी है मेरे लिए, क्योंकि ये तालियां दिल से आ रही हैं तो ये बजती ही रहेंगी। तो इसलिए अब हम आगे चलते हैं और कुछ चीजें जो आपके साथ हम साझा करने चाहेंगे आज की शाम को। गीत को हम यही रोक रहे हैं और इसके बाद अवार्ड्स का हमारा रहा एक हम्बल। अब पैंडेमिक के दौरान में बहुत सारे चैलेंजेस थे बच्चों को, पर टीचर्स आप बहुत बड़े वॉरियर्स हैं, आप बहुत शूरवीर हैं, आपने किसी भी तरीके से बच्चों तक पहुंचे और हमने भी हम्बल वे में अपने चेंबर की तरफ से कम 1600 वेबिनार्स को ड्यूरिंग पैंडेमिक कंडक्ट किया और अभी हमने यूनेस्को के माध्यम से गिनीज बुक ऑफ रिकॉर्ड्स में भेजा है। टीचर्स और यूथ के लिए किस तरह से हमारे साथ तकरीबन 6000 वक्ता जुड़े और टीचर्स और यूथ की एम्पावरमेंट का प्रोग्राम कैसा रहा। हमारे चेंबर को इस बात का गर्व है कि हम एनआरआईज के माध्यम से 1994 से 1994 से भारत का पहला फिनिशिंग स्कूल सर्विस इंडस्ट्री का लेकर आए, जहां पर टीचर्स और यूथ के लिए एक इंस्पिरेशनल प्रोग्राम। लेकिन कोरोना के बाद ये सब कुछ डिजिटल हो गया है, जहां पर मेंटल वेलनेस, फिजिकल वेलनेस, प्रोफेशनल वेलनेस, सोशल वेलनेस, इकोनॉमिकल वेलनेस, इन सब चीजों को जब हम लेकर चलते हैं तो डिजिटल ट्रांसफॉर्मेशन कैसा है। और दूसरा, हमारे चेंबर की जितनी रिसर्च 28 साल की, हम इसके ऊपर ये कहते हैं कि पढ़ाई हमारी जो है, जो शिक्षा है, वो नेचर के साथ क्यों नहीं जुड़ी। लर्निंग थ्रू नेचर, टीचर्स गार्डनर हैं, हम वाटर मैनेजमेंट की बात करते हैं, वेस्ट टू रिसोर्स मैनेजमेंट की बात करते हैं, क्लाइमेट चेंज की बात करते हैं, कार्बन न्यूट्रल की बात करते हैं, अंडरस्टैंडिंग कल्चरल डाइवर्सिटी की बातचीत करते हैं, इमर्सिव लर्निंग की बातचीत करते हैं, हॉलिस्टिक लर्निंग की बातचीत करते हैं, सस्टेनेबल लिविंग की बातचीत करते हैं। ये सब कुछ पॉसिबल है जिस दिन हमारी सोच माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जी की सोच के साथ जुड़ जाएगी। उन्होंने न्यू एजुकेशन पॉलिसी दी है जो डिफरेंट फेजेस में इंप्लीमेंट हो रही है। यूनियन बजट के अंदर स्पेशल एलोकेशन एजुकेशन और स्किल और डिजिटल यूनिवर्सिटी के लिए, भारतीय भाषाओं के लिए समिति बनाई गई है शिक्षा मंत्रालय के अंदर भारत सरकार की तरफ से। भारतीय भाषाओं का विकास किस तरीके से आगे हो और हमारे शिक्षा की प्रणाली के माध्यम से 2047 में जब भारत अपने 100 साल मना रहा होगा तो भारत कैसा होगा, भारत के बच्चे कैसे होंगे, भारत के शिक्षक कैसे होंगे, भारत की डिजिटल टेक्नोलॉजी सब चीज कैसे होगी। क्योंकि भाषा को व्यवहार में लाना है, संस्कृति को व्यवहार में लाना है और संस्कृति से ही, परंपराओं से ही, भाषाओं से ही हम सब कुछ। और जिस तरीके से म्यूजिक मैंने आपको दिया, म्यूजिक की कोई भाषा नहीं होती। आप किसी भी देश का कोई भी म्यूजिक सुने तो आप लेकर चल सकते हैं। इन्हीं शब्दों के साथ पुनः आप सबका बहुत बहुत हार्दिक अभिनंदन। और इन्हीं शब्दों के साथ मैं निवेदन करूंगा माननीय श्री संजय अवस्थी जी से कि वो अपने विचार रखें सबसे पहले, क्योंकि हमारा फोकस टीचर्स है, हमारा फोकस शिक्षा प्रणाली है, हमारा फोकस जो मेन है वो शिक्षकों को तैयार करना है। और हम किस तरह से, जैसे भारत के बाहर लोग वृद्ध हो रहे हैं, तो हम कैसे उस बागडोर को संभाल सकते हैं और कैसे योगदान दे सकते हैं और सर्विसेज एक्सपोर्ट यहां से कैसे हो सकता है। श्री संजय अवस्थी जी, और उसके बाद मैं पद्मश्री चामू कृष्णा शास्त्री जी से निवेदन करूंगा कि संजय अवस्थी जी के विचारों के बाद वो अपने विचार रखें। ये सारा कुछ मैं प्रोफेसर जगदीश एन शेठ जी की अनुमति से इस तरीके से लेकर चल रहा हूं। संजय अवस्थी जी।
Thank you, Dr. Sharma. Respected Professor Jagdish Sheth, Dr. Gulshansharma, Chamu Krishna Shastri ji, I remember you very well. You were advisor to Prakash Javadekar ji when I used to be there in the ministry, and other distinguished panelists. It has, after this kind of introduction that Dr. Sharma has given, we need to think, reflect that, you see, what exactly is happening to the teachers, that we are almost on a mass scale in a kind of factory setting. We are producing month on month and year on year basis, lakhs of them. At this juncture, to begin, I would just like to remind, in fact, most of you would not probably remember, but when our Honorable Prime Minister used to be Chief Minister of Gujarat, then he was invited for a business conclave in the Sri Ram College of Commerce in Delhi. This was 6th of February 2013. Now, this particular speech is available on the net, and I will confess that it was by accident that we discovered this speech. Because what is happening is that once he became the Prime Minister, all focus was what he was saying after he became the Prime Minister, not whatever his vision was all through right from the beginning. So I'm just reading a few lines, take a minute from that speech, which started us thinking in the NCT. In fact, it had a tremendous influence on me. And I'll just take a minute. It is in Hindi, so I'll read slowly. So those who are slightly, you find it difficult, I hope you'll be able to understand. So some of the lines. आज आप किसी भी परिवार को पूछेंगे कि आप एक इच्छा बता दीजिए क्या है, कितना ही धनी इंसान क्यों ना हो, उसको एक इच्छा पूछते हैं तो बताता है कि मुझे मेरे बेटे और की बेटी की अच्छी शिक्षा चाहिए, अच्छा टीचर चाहिए। हर माँ बाप अरबों खरबों का मालिक क्यों ना हो, उसको अपने बच्चे के लिए अच्छा टीचर चाहिए। और मित्रों, मेरा सपना है। Now this is what I would like to emphasize, underline. मेरा सपना है पूरे विश्व को मिलियन टीचर्स की आवश्यकता है। हिंदुस्तान के पास नौजवानों की फौज है। हम सब कुछ एक्सपोर्ट करते हैं, क्यों ना हम टीचर एक्सपोर्ट करें। So in very the simplest of terms, you see, and then we started thinking, you know, those of you who are abroad in English speaking countries, I would not be very sure of Kyrgyzstan. I believe one of the panelists is from Kyrgyzstan, but you find a lot of Indian nurses in hospitals there. In fact, that is one of our most successful efforts in placing nursing staff abroad. So now, if that is possible, why not teachers? More importantly, why teachers? You see, I have been a student of political science. We distinguish between hard power and soft power. You know, military, might, saber rattling, you know, all those things, which, you know, not exactly the very right kind of approach when you are engaging with nations, but soft power, your music, films, culture, you know, dress, food, you know, cuisine, everything. Now, if this is one opportunity of projecting your soft power to the rest of the world, at least to the English speaking world, or at least to those countries in the Southeast Asian region or Middle East, where there is an aspiration to learn English. So the point is, the why aspect is very, very easy to understand. Now let us, you know, figure out what exactly are the facts before us. When I say this as a bureaucrat, it has always been my, it used to be my endeavor that, you know, you can have any kind of vision. You can sit in your room and think of the best possible things of a utopian society. But a good vision is an implementable vision. How do you bring it on the ground? So just bear with me for a few facts. Now in 2019, in fact, that was the year when we started, at least I started thinking on these. We realized that there were about 15 to 20 lakh teachers who had qualified either the central TET. TET is a teacher eligibility test, central teacher eligibility test, or a state eligibility test, which we call STET. So for those who are not very familiar with the jargon, so it is a kind of qualifying test. You can't become a teacher in India until and unless you have passed either of these, either a state TET or a central TET. So in that particular year, I realized that there were 15 to 20 lakh people all over the country. And this is a very, very conservative figure. It is certainly much more than that. They had qualified to become full-fledged teachers in any of your educational systems, the school system. Now, the other depressing part, or the statistics which are depressing, there are 95 lakh teachers in the country. That is 9.5 million teachers. That is the sum and substance of the numbers, private, public, or any other category in between. This is what it is as far as India is concerned. Now, experts assess or assume that there will be a 3% attrition, either through retirement, people moving on, people resigning, or for whatever reason. So that means there is no way that year-on-year basis you require anything more than 3 lakh teachers, 300,000 teachers. There's no requirement beyond that. Of course, you have situations where a particular state, like let us say a huge big state like Madhya Pradesh or Uttar Pradesh, may not recruit teachers for 5 years or 6 years. Then the thing gets accumulated over a period of time. So you suddenly, realize that the figure may be more than 3 lakhs. But year on year, there is no way that there is anything beyond this requirement. So what is going to happen to those young men and women who have taken the trouble of undergoing a 2-year or a more, longer duration teacher education program? They have cracked the CTET or the STET, but believe me, they have nowhere to go. Why? Because the supply is far in excess of whatever the system can justifiably absorb. Now, another depressing bit of statistics that need to be added here. In the teacher education sector, while I was working in the NCT, we had close to 19,90,000 seats in the teacher education sector. That is how much? 2 million. Imagine how many teachers you are capable of producing, how many teachers are eventually coming out of your systems. Of course, I would not like to use this forum to apologize for anything, in the sense that the quality may not be, world class. And that is where, we need to deliberate. And that is where the practical aspect of whatever I have to suggest is going to come into play. So after all of this, what is happening is that we have this huge oversupply. On the other hand, there is a situation, I may be slightly faulty in terms of figures, but they are ballpark figures. CBSE alone has 200 schools outside of India. That is the figure. Most of them confined to the Middle East, few of them in Singapore, Nepal, few other places, but yes, there are 200 schools outside. And most of these schools are following the CBSE pattern in terms of not only the curriculum, but also in terms of determining what kind of qualification you require in a teacher. And that, believe me, is only this, that you should have done a B.Ed or a D.El.Ed from an NCT recognized institution, and you preferably should have. Why I'm using preferably, though it is the law, NCT Act specifically mandates that you must be seated, to become a teacher. But unfortunately, as soon as you move out of the country, you realize that a little bit of blurring of the requirements, happens. It is not their fault. It is the fault of supplies. In fact, let me take a pause just to make this, slightly more on a personal level. In 2016, about 6 months into my job in the NCTE, I was, some 16 or 18 odd principals from the Gulf countries. They sought an appointment, and as a group, they came and met. They had this one issue. They were essentially Indian schools, could be CBSE, could be maybe on the Indian pattern itself. They were facing a huge issue of qualified teachers. Of course, they had come up with a request that we should relax the qualification to suit them. That, allow merely graduates or postgraduates to become teachers, so that they don't fall into any kind of, trouble with either CBSE or any kind of affiliating body that may be there. And at that point in time, they also revealed that most of the teachers are essentially spouses of expats who are working there. And they have been very happy to employ them, requiring that they should merely be graduates. Now imagine, those who have not engaged heavily with this sector will feel that, at times, you have teachers who are instinctively good teachers. You have some people who may not be very bright in studies or brilliant, but they are the kind, you take tuition and who tutor your children, and you find that they are far better than, the so-called quote unquote qualified, super qualified teachers in schools. So it may be, a lot of it could be instinctive, but then the teacher education programs are professional programs which teach you how to be good teachers. So, it would be an anathema for anybody working with the teacher education sector to even agree to consider a proposal that you can only merely have graduates who can become teachers. So the point is, I'm only using this anecdote to illustrate the point that while you have oversupply of teachers in India, you have an extreme crisis kind of situation the moment you move out of the country. So this is where, while it is a crisis for the country, so many young men and women qualified without any hope for a job for which they obtained that qualification, there is an opportunity of placing teachers abroad and realizing thereby, we can, Professor Dr. Sharma mentioned that we need to become Vishwaguru. How do you do it? Is it easy? We can amongst ourselves talk and say that we have 5,000 years of civilization to sort of fall back. But who accepts all of your international gradings or social indices? Believe me, it is a very, very depressing. I don't want to take your time. You can search the net, see what happened 2009 when India made its maiden entry into PISA. Any kind of, teacher qualification, your own NAS, which NCERT does, it is on a relatively easy benchmark, and see what happens, what kind of issues are thrown up, 5th class, 6th class students. And I'm talking of government. I'm not talking of your private NGOs, which cause a lot of embarrassment to us. But I'm talking of the government figures, you need to see. And this COVID has actually, worsened this situation like anything. The point is, now, what can we do? Now we come to how do you implement, or how can we hope to implement this vision of placing teachers abroad? Now, one thing that can happen is that you set your benchmark as a minimum where a person needs to have qualified already a TET, either the central TET or the state TET, so that at least you have a bare minimum of good qualification, which you can take for granted. So that is one. You have lakhs and lakhs and lakhs of these persons who are out there and who may just be willing to listen to you and think of working abroad. So that is one. The other is teaching teacher education is a very, very localized kind of teaching. Itself is localized. No, it's not like engineering or management. A student undergoing a management degree may study in Delhi or Mumbai or Pune or Bangalore, but could be aspiring to work anywhere in the country or abroad. Same is the case with engineers. You may be studying your engineering in Pune, but you may be looking for a job in Gurgaon or Bangalore. But teaching essentially is localized. If you have done your B.Ed from, let us say, a state like West Bengal or Uttar Pradesh, you would more or less want to be employed in those states. So these are some of the factors that we need to keep in mind, because if you go in only with, rose-colored spectacles, then you are likely to make mistakes. So you cannot compare teaching with, other professions like engineering or management. So you need to keep this in mind, that this is a localized So what do you require now? Now, suddenly a person who has done teacher education course in West Bengal or Madhya Pradesh or Bihar, you are aspiring or aiming to place him in, let us say, a Middle Eastern country or a Southeast Asian country or any of these CIS countries which may require teachers from India. So you need to have a medium duration. I would say we used to think that it could be anything between 3 months to 6 months or even less. A kind of finishing school program where some of the skills need to be reinforced. Some of the gap areas in teacher education in India need to be layered over. And these persons need to acquire that kind of communication skills or confidence where they really feel that they are fit for an international market or an international school anywhere. So that is a challenge. Now, another challenge that is built into what kind of skills do you need to impart in this 3 to 6 months or less program? Who will decide? Some experts need to sit down and they need to decide that these are the skills that we need to hammer home. The other is, what kind of people would be willing to listen to us? If the government sector is not to be involved in this, believe me, I tried. When I used to be there, I had put up a paper called Project Brihaspati, which was exactly this. But then I had to, with the way things are in the government, I was transferred to the Water Resources Ministry from there. And probably that paper is still probably moving around in the Education Ministry file, maybe somewhere or the other, but I haven't heard of it. So what exactly is the kind of, the kind of challenge that we need to undertake if it is not to be a government effort? Believe me, we are going to be true Indians. We are going to be helping in realizing the dream of being a Vishwaguru if we do that, but there will be challenges if the government is not involved. Now, another part is a slight issue which we always used to think about, And it is not a problem, certainly. I mean, I apologize in advance. It is a relatively female gender heavy profession. Like it or not, a lot of ladies prefer this profession. So your efforts need to keep that in mind. What kind of atmosphere or environment or kind of assurance you need to give that ladies need to feel safe and happy in, accepting assignments outside of the country. So this is another thing. Now, the last and the biggest challenge is once you have prepared them 3 to 6 months or whatever kind of program, you have made your selection, what kind of, back-end arrangement is there for placing them in decent schools with decent salaries? Yeah. One of the biggest challenges in India, believe me, is disparity in salaries between primary school teachers and secondary school teachers. It's probably none of the better countries in the world which have very good education systems, they equally value the primary system. So there should not be any kind of, that person feels cheated that even though I've got a job in, let us say, Dubai or UAE or any of these countries, but the salary is barely enough to, sort of make ends meet in those countries. So that also has to be taken into consideration. Now, another challenge could be, what is a financially sustainable model for a non-government organization for this effort? Personally know of a corporate entity which is doing exactly this, doing it very successfully, but they have a financial model where they charge very, very heavily from the prospective teachers. They don't charge from the employers, they charge from the teachers. Now, is that the right thing? Regardless of my personal opinion on that matter, I believe in India, we need to go lightly when it comes to charging from the prospective candidates. We need to be able to prepare the kind of, quality person that an employer, a potential employer, is willing to pay for. Not only as salary, but also as a kind of finder's fee for you. That would be a good financial model, sustainable model for any non-government effort. Now, apart from this, since all of you from diverse backgrounds, you have this concern, we all want to see India become greater than what it is today. Ultimately, so let us think of how outside of the government, maybe with the government's blessings, we were always pushing that this 3 to 6 month program could be approved or, sanctioned or, some kind of template be prepared by NCT or NCRT or any of the major universities which are undertaking teacher education programs to give it credibility. If that is possible, well and good. If that is not possible, you need to be your own very harsh critic in this regard. Whatever you do, you need to have a system in place where you criticize it till you come up with a really good program. With these few words, I think first time I met Dr. Gulshansharma was in 2019, August, when we were celebrating the silver jubilee of the NCT's founding. And one of the sub-themes was, our teachers are heroes. So, on this note, teachers are really our heroes. Let that slogan carry them even outside India and do us proud. Thank you.
आपका बहुत बहुत आभार है संजय अवस्थी जी। एक पूरा कॉन्टेक्स्ट सेट करना था, इसलिए मैंने आपसे निवेदन किया, क्योंकि आपने ग्रास रूट पर नेशनल काउंसिल फॉर टीचर एजुकेशन पर एज ए मेंबर सेक्रेटरी काम किया, और आप समझते हैं कि इस समय उसकी कैसी व्यवस्थाएं हैं और ग्राउंड की क्या रियलिटीज हैं और हमें आगे कैसे चलना चाहिए। दैट्स व्हाई आई मेड अ रिक्वेस्ट टू यू, एंड थैंक यू वेरी मच फॉर कमिंग ऑन द प्रोग्राम एंड शेयरिंग योर विजन। एंड 6 फरवरी 2013 का प्रेजेंट माननीय प्रधानमंत्री और तब चीफ मिनिस्टर को जब वो वीडियो है वो हम जरूर उसको देखेंगे। 6 फरवरी 2013 का हमने नोट किया है, और उसका जो एक्सेप्ट्स आपने दिया है वो भी हम लेकर चलेंगे। तो इन्हीं शब्दों के साथ मैं हार्दिक अभिनंदन करता हूं पद्मश्री चामू कृष्ण शास्त्री जी, जो कि अपने हमारे हेड हैं भारतीय भाषा समिति के। ये हाई पावर्ड कमेटी है जो इस समय भारतीय भाषाओं को अपनी शिक्षा प्रणाली में, और खासकर हमारी प्रमोशन ऑफ इंडियन लैंग्वेजेस की जब बातचीत करते हैं तो 8वें शेड्यूल में कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन में 22 भाषाएं वहां दी हुई हैं। लेकिन जैसा मैंने सर से जब बातचीत की, अभी तक मैं मिला नहीं हूं रूबरू, लेकिन फोन पर ही बातचीत हुई तो इतना अच्छा लगा। और मैं तो अगले जन्म में नॉर्थ ईस्ट में ही पैदा होऊंगा। अभी पता नहीं कैसे नॉर्थ इंडिया में, मुझे नहीं पता, मेरा जन्म स्थान ये है, लेकिन मेरी कर्म भूमि नॉर्थ ईस्ट है पिछले 45 साल से। और वो जो जगह है, और मुझे लगता है कि वहां पर रेडीमेड मार्केट है। जिस सपने को मैं लेकर चल रहा हूं, वहां के बच्चों की प्लेसमेंट मैं जल्द से जल्द हम लोग करवा सकते हैं, कुछ सोच रहे हैं। तो आइए भाषा के माध्यम से, संस्कृति के माध्यम से पद्मश्री चामू कृष्ण शास्त्री जी का विजन लेकर चलते हैं। एंड उसके बाद फिर मैं महिलाओं को निवेदन करूंगा, हम उसको लेकर चलेंगे। पद्मश्री चामू कृष्ण शास्त्री सर, चेयरमैन भारतीय भाषाएं समिति।
आईसीएसआई के सभी पदाधिकारियों को प्रणाम। मैं सीधा संबोधन के बिना सीधा विषय पर आता हूं। 5 मिनट में 5 बिंदु आपके सामने रखना है। तो पहला विषय कुछ जानकारियां, आप भी जानते होंगे, फिर भी एक बार याद दिलाता हूं। संविधान में तो राजभाषा के, भारत संघ का राजभाषा के नाते 2 भाषाएं, अंग्रेजी और हिंदी। 8 scheduled languages 22. Then as per census 2011, speakers बोलने वाले 10,000 and above speakers भाषाएं 270. As a medium of instruction, 35 languages are used as medium of instruction, and as part of 3-language formula, 130 languages are taught as part of 3-language formula. This is about the statistical information. भारतीय भाषा केवल एक भाषा नहीं, वो एक जीवन दर्शन है। सभी भारतीय भाषाओं में 50 to 60% of the vocabulary, in some languages it is 70 to 80% of the vocabulary of all Indian languages are same. That is, they have Sanskrit, Tatsam, Tadbhav, of that kind, common vocabulary. Say 50 to 60% of the vocabulary of all Indian languages are common. Underlying grammar of Indian languages are common. Varnamala, Aksharamala, letters samana. Dhvani vyavastha samana. Vakya rachana, Vakya vinyasaha samanaha. That is why a person who knows one Indian language can easily understand all other Indian languages. It is not, and also learning another Indian language is not like learning a new language. It is just 50% new. That is all. So, and also, now people talk of diversity, linguistic diversity. Rather, we should talk of unity in diversity. You know, diversity without unity will end up with distortion and division and chaos. So, as language abhimani bhasha premi, all of us should focus on unity rather than the diversity. डाइवर्सिटी में यूनिटी के लिए डाइवर्सिटी चाहिए ही. अगर आप यूनिटी का फोकस करते हैं, डाइवर्सिटी इंक्लूड्स द यूनिटी, बट डाइवर्सिटी एलोन डजंट इंक्लूड यूनिटी. So that is the difference between others and us. We talk of unity. So ये भी आप सभी ध्यान में रखिए. भाषा विघटन के लिए माध्यम नहीं होना, साधन नहीं होना, विभाग का साधन नहीं बनना चाहिए. भाषा एकता का, एकात्मता का, जोड़ने का, एकजुटता का साधन बनना चाहिए. ये हमारा भाषा के प्रति हमारी धारणा. और भाषा शिक्षक के संदर्भ में हम बात कर रहे हैं, ग्लोबल कॉन्टेक्स्ट के बाद. मैं तो भाषा शिक्षक के संदर्भ में अभी बात कर रहा हूं, यद्यपि आप सभी सब प्रकार के शिक्षकों के संदर्भ में बात कर रहे हैं, एंड द ग्लोबल कॉन्टेक्स्ट इन पर्टिकुलर. सो in order to become a good language teacher, now we should think how language education is there in the India today. Language education, particularly Indian language. Schools में, colleges में, they don't teach the language. They teach kavita, they teach kavya, they teach literature. So literature focus से language focus में shift होना चाहिए. वो नहीं होता है तो अच्छा language teacher नहीं बनेगा. So भाषा एक कौशल है, अभिव्यक्ति कौशल, प्रोडक्टिव स्किल्स में ज्यादा फोकस होना चाहिए. ऐसे कई चीजें हैं. सो इन ऑर्डर टू प्रोड्यूस ग्लोबली रिक्वायर्ड क्वालिटी टीचर्स इन इंडियन लैंग्वेजेस, वी नीड टू चेंज द curriculum of language education, pedagogy of language education, and also good teacher training as well. So उसमें कई विषय है, मैं विस्तार से नहीं जाता हूं, आप सब विद्वान लोग हैं. So नया पाठ्यक्रम, नया पाठ्य पुस्तकें, नए पाठ्य पुस्तकें, नई पाठ पद्धति, नया प्रशिक्षण, ये सब हमें सोचना चाहिए अच्छा भाषा शिक्षकों का निर्माण करने के लिए, भारत में भी और भारत से बाहर भी. दूसरा विषय, सभी विषयों के शिक्षक जितने भी भाषा के अलावा, अदर देन language teachers, all subject teachers should also be good in languages. Otherwise they cannot teach properly their subjects. Today there is a crisis about the language. भारतीय भाषा में, शुद्ध भाषा में लिखने की, बोलने की समस्या है, वर्तनी की समस्या है, कई प्रकार के challenges हैं. So we should also think of language, the very purpose of language teaching, both in school education and higher education. जैसे अंग्रेजी में English for specific purpose एक विषय है, भारतीय भाषाओं में भी हर एक भारतीय भाषा शिक्षा में लैंग्वेज फॉर स्पेसिफिक पर्पस, जो कुछ भी भाषा आप लीजिए, हिंदी भाषा अगर लेते हैं, हिंदी फॉर लिटरेचर केवल नहीं, हिंदी फॉर बिजनेस, हिंदी फॉर कॉमर्स, हिंदी फॉर कम्युनिकेशन, हिंदी फॉर डॉक्टर्स, हिंदी फॉर एडवोकेट्स, हिंदी फॉर इंडस्ट्री, हिंदी फॉर मैनेजमेंट, एनी so every Indian language teaching should have this kind of focus as well. So ये एक विषय हो गया. भाषा, अन्य विषय शिक्षकों के लिए भी भाषा प्रशिक्षण, ये इसके बारे में भी हमें सोचना चाहिए. तीसरा विषय, अगर भारत से भाषा के अलावा जो भारतीय ज्ञान परंपरा रिलेटेड शिक्षक विश्व को भेजना है, योग शिक्षक, आयुर्वेद शिक्षक, वेलनेस शिक्षक, काउंसलर्स, ऐसे कई प्रकार के वहाँ जैसे मैं देख रहा हूँ पिछले 25 सालों में, जैसे रिलीजियन डिपार्टमेंट में, इंडोलॉजी डिपार्टमेंट, आर्ट्स डिपार्टमेंट, फिलॉसफी डिपार्टमेंट, देन म्यूजिक डिपार्टमेंट, ऐसे सारे डिपार्टमेंट्स में लैंग्वेज टीचर्स का अपॉइंटमेंट होता है अन्य अन्य देशों में। तो उन विषयों के लिए जो शिक्षक जाएंगे उनको केवल भाषा भी नहीं, और विशेषतः अगर भारतीय ज्ञान परंपरा में, इंडियन नॉलेज सिस्टम्स में, आर्ट्स में, म्यूजिक में, किसी भी विषय में अगर तज्ञता होनी चाहिए, उनके लिए क्लासिकल लैंग्वेजेस की जानकारी भी आवश्यक है। संस्कृत, पाली, प्राकृत, तमिल, तेलुगु, क्लासिकल कन्नड़ा, क्लासिकल मलयालम, क्लासिकल ओडिया, इस प्रकार भारतीय ज्ञान परंपरा जिन जिन प्राचीन भाषा साहित्य में है उसका भी परिचय होना चाहिए। इसलिए भारतीय भाषाएं, भारतीय ज्ञान परंपरा, ये दोनों में अगर एक्सपर्ट होते हैं, then they will be better teachers in the world, all over the India. तो वहां भी दो प्रकार के शिक्षकों की आवश्यकता है। एक तो भारतीय विद्यालयों में शिक्षक, दूसरा इंडोलॉजी इत्यादि इत्यादि हायर एजुकेशन में शिक्षण के लिए शिक्षक चाहिए, वहां के हायर एजुकेशन के लिए। तीसरा, भारतीय इंडियन लैंग्वेज एज ए फॉरेन लैंग्वेज। स्कूल्स में एक्रेडिटेशन प्राप्त ऐसे कोर्सेस वहां हैं, इसके लिए भी। सो इंडियन लैंग्वेज एज ए फॉरेन लैंग्वेज, teaching Indian language as a foreign language. Our people are not yet acquainted in India now, because in India it is not a foreign language. But whereas you teach Indian language in the other country for non-Indians, or sometimes for Indians also, Indian kids also, you teach it as a foreign language. So then that is the third requirement. Fourth requirement is for, languages are taught in temples or associations, Indian associations. For every weekend वहां के बच्चों के लिए भारतीय भाषाएं पढ़ाते हैं। तो वीकेंड कक्षा में स्कूल जाने तक बच्चे आते हैं, फिर कॉलेज जाना शुरू करते हैं, तो फिर वो डिस्कनेक्टेड होते हैं भारतीय भाषा उनसे। ऐसा है तो वहां के यूनिवर्सिटीज में जो भारतीय बच्चे हैं उनको अपनी मातृभाषा के साथ जोड़ के रखने के लिए और समय समय पर निरंतरता से उनको भारतीय भाषा के संपर्क में रखने के लिए अलग प्रकार के भारतीय भाषा कोर्सेस, it is not language course, but to attract them, connect language with one of the Indian knowledge system, either art or something like. So ऐसे ये भाषा शिक्षण का और भारतीय भाषा शिक्षण का और टीचर्स को ग्लोबली अपेक्षित पद्धति में टीचर्स को अगर भारत से एक्सपोर्ट करना है तो कई उसका डायमेंशंस है। इन सारे डायमेंशंस को ध्यान में रखते हुए we incorporate these things in our teacher education, either some language teacher education में कुछ ऑप्शनल कोर्सेस हो सकते हैं, ऑप्शनल सब्जेक्ट्स, या हायर एजुकेशन में कुछ ऑप्शनल सब्जेक्ट हो सकते हैं, और एज ए स्किल NCVET के माध्यम से लैंग्वेज एज ए स्किल स्पेशलाइज्ड कोर्सेस बना के उस सर्टिफिकेट कोर्सेस हम चला सकते हैं। और those who want to go to abroad, they can be given इस प्रकार के स्पेशलाइज्ड ट्रेनिंग। तो ऐसे शिक्षकों की निर्माण के बारे में हमें सोचना चाहिए। और एक विषय है, भारत में हो या भारत से बाहर, whether it is in India or outside India, most of the teachers are today monolingual teachers. Be he a language teacher or he or she a subject teacher, they are monolingual. Now we should, make all monolingual teachers as multilingual teachers. So इससे ज्ञान का भी विस्तार होता है, कौशल का भी विस्तार होता है, और the teacher can be a role model to students. By being a learner of another new language, the teacher can be role model, and इससे सभी भारतीय भाषाओं में आपस में स्नेह बढ़ेगा, एकता बढ़ेगी, और आपस का समझना, पारस्परिकता, ये अच्छा होगा. सो दैट इज फाइनली एक जानकारी देता हूं. मैसूर में सेंट्रल इंस्टीट्यूट ऑफ इंडियन लैंग्वेजेस है, भारत सरकार का भारतीय भाषाओं के लिए सर्वप्रधान प्राइमरी इंस्टीट्यूट है. उनके माध्यम से अभी भारतीय भाषाओं को सीखने के लिए या सिखाने के लिए एक ऐप बन रहा है. 2-3 महीने में 75 लैंग्वेजेस तैयार होंगे, फिर अगले साल और 100 लैंग्वेज, and in 2 years time 270 languages will be taught through that app. Target students will be students, teachers, public at large, both Indians and NRIs abroad. So इस ऐप के माध्यम से कोई, जैसे कोई गुजराती मातृभाषी व्यक्ति है, वो अपनी भाषा माध्यम से असमिया सीख सकता है, असमिया मातृभाषी व्यक्ति अपनी मातृभाषा के माध्यम से गुजराती भी सीख सकता है. इस प्रकार नॉर्थ ईस्ट के पूरे देश के सभी भाषाएं सीखने के लिए एक ऐप बन रहा है. जैसे भी तैयार होता है उसका लॉन्चिंग होगा, आप सबको जानकारी होगा ही. तो अंत में मेरा यही एकमात्र निवेदन है कि हम सब मिलके आपस में भारतीय भाषाओं के माध्यम से हम भारत को समझेंगे. भारतीय भाषा के द्वारा भारत को समझना, भारतीय ज्ञान परंपरा को समझना, और भारतीय भाषा के माध्यम से भारतीयता को अपने हमारे व्यवहार में लाना, और उस भारतीयता और भारतीय ज्ञान परंपरा के माध्यम से भारत को फिर से हम विश्वगुरु स्थान में ले जाएंगे. और भारत को विश्वगुरु बनाना है तो क्या, भारतीय हम गुरु स्थान तक विकसित होना है, बस इतना ही है. वो काम हम सब प्रयास करेंगे. धन्यवाद.
बहुत बहुत आभार है आपका. और पद्मश्री चामुकृष्ण शास्त्री जी, आपने बहुत ही अच्छे भाव से और बहुत ही सहज भाव से इतनी गहरी बातें कह दी. हम इतनी देर से एनआरआईज के साथ जुड़ के, नॉर्थ ईस्ट के साथ जुड़ के बहुत सारे कार्यक्रम कर रहे हैं. आज आपने एक नई डायमेंशन जोड़ दी है, क्योंकि जो ज्ञान की परंपरा है, योग, आयुर्वेद, आर्ट, म्यूजिक, फिलॉसफी, क्लासिकल, और फिर आपने टेम्पल्स में, फिर आपने एसोसिएशन में, वीकेंड में, क्या क्या जहां जहां हम लोग मिलते हैं, अगर हम अपनी भाषाओं को जीवित रखना चाहते हैं और बाहर तक लेकर चलना चाहते हैं. कितनी बढ़िया बात आपने कही कि मोनोलिंगुअल टीचर से मल्टीलिंगुअल टीचर्स पर उतरना होगा. और अगर हम बाहर की भाषाएं सीखते थे, तो अब वक्त आ गया है, समय आ गया है कि हमको अपनी भाषाओं को भी आगे लेकर चलना है. प्रोफेसर एसपी सिंह जी, आप रेडी हो जाइए. रॉयल ग्लोबल यूनिवर्सिटी में मुझे पूरे नॉर्थ ईस्ट के लिए भी एक ऐप अलग से डेवलप करना है आपके साथ. आप गुवाहाटी में हैं, क्योंकि जब भी नॉर्थ ईस्ट जाते हैं पहला द्वार आपका आता है फ्लाइट के लैंड करते ही. तो मैं आपका भी बहुत सहयोग लूंगा, और हमने चामू सर को जो बेस्ट पॉसिबल हम अपनी तरफ से कर सकते हैं, क्योंकि आत्मा से, मन से हमारा पूरा प्रयास है कि ये एक बहुत अच्छा कार्य है. और भाषा, जिस तरह से संगीत की भी इन्होंने बातचीत की है, बाहर मेरे कुछ एक मित्र जिनके मैं संपर्क में हूं, उनसे बातचीत कर रहा हूं, वो 3000 के करीब डॉलर पर मंथ अपने बच्चों को क्लासिकल डांस किसी और से सिखाने के ऊपर, और बाहर के लोग भी सीखना चाहते हैं. तो मेरे हिसाब से म्यूजिक को, एंटरटेनमेंट को, बॉलीवुड को, भाषाओं को, इन सबको जोड़ना होगा. अभी अभी जो मूवी आई है आपकी दैट रॉकेट साइंटिस्ट की अगर आप देखें तो वो 3 भाषाओं में एक ही बार बनी है, हिंदी में, तेलुगु में और साथ में इंग्लिश भाषा में। तो भाषाओं को आगे लेकर चलेंगे। पद्मश्री चामू कृष्ण शास्त्री जी का बहुत बहुत हम जो है आभार प्रकट करते हैं कि उन्होंने अपना बहुमूल्य समय दिया। अब कॉन्टेक्स्ट सेट हो गया है, संजय अवस्थी जी ने और पद्मश्री चामू जी ने कॉन्टेक्स्ट सेट कर दिया है। तो अब मैं निवेदन करूंगा और खासकर पुरुषों से इजाजत लेके कि अगर आप मुझे अगर अनुमति दें तो मैं महिलाओं को 5-5 मिनट देना चाहूंगा अब से, क्योंकि कॉन्टेक्स्ट सेट है। 5-5 मिनट के अंदर हम अपना सब कुछ लेके चलें, क्योंकि अल्टीमेटली एसपी सिंह जी हमको डिजिटल यूनिवर्सिटी में लेके चलना है, जो माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जी का स्वप्न है। इन्हीं शब्दों के साथ प्रेमा मुरलीधर मैम, आइए आपके विचार हम यूएई से, दुबई से सुनना चाहेंगे और उसके बाद फिर मैं आपको सेंट्रल एशिया लेके चलूंगा डॉक्टर शिल्पी मोहन मैम के पास। और प्रिया मैम, आप तो थोड़ा सा रुकेंगे हमारे साथ, क्योंकि आप रोज इतना समय देते हैं, अच्छे से देते हैं। तो मैं चाहूंगा कि आज आप बड़े अच्छे कमेंट्स भी दे रहे हैं चैट में और आप व्यूज भी लिख रहे हैं, तो आप थोड़ा सा मुझे जरूर समय दीजिएगा। हम चाहेंगे कि आप हमारे साथ रहें। इन्हीं शब्दों के साथ प्रेमा मुरलीधर मैम।
So Sandhya, thank you so much for giving this opportunity. Having lived in the Gulf, the GCC, for over 25 years now, and having gone there come as a kindergarten teacher, I can tell you one thing, Sanjay ji, we Indians are the best. And what has come up in the time of COVID, I can tell you that there is no words to be so proud of Indians, because we took the mantle in our hands. And I was in the UAE, I'm in the UAE, and I know how much our teachers in very short time became trainers for other country, for other nationals. The pickup time of Indian teachers, yes, I agree that there are certain shortcomings with Indian teachers, but as you rightly said, with over 200 schools in the GCC, I think 90% are Indians. And as a convener of the UAE chapter for the Gulf, Sahodia, I can tell you Indians will never fade away from GCC. They are wanted, more wanted, and will ever be wanted. That is my affirmation, and we can be very strong that our education has tailored our teachers to stand to that stress which other nationalities cannot live up to. They take time to settle down and then they start. But we Indians, the minute we find something is not happening, we are ready even to give our lives. And I think as principals and as teachers, and I can be very proud to tell you that in 2018, I started digital learning in the UAE. And Woodland Park School, Ajman, was the first school to start virtual learning even before we even thought COVID and other things will take us. So what I am trying to say is, who else other than this band of Indian teachers? And I'm so proud, I have at least about 30 to 40 teachers from NCT, and they are the best teachers. They are the ones who help train other teachers. However, we can definitely work out on a formula to bring them over in a more structured manner. You are right. A lot of spouse visa teachers are in our schools. Does it mean that they are fresh teachers? No, some of them are trained. Most of them are fresh. And they take all the training when they come to schools. And thankfully, with full credit to the United Arab Emirates, with their rulers and their stringent quality assurance mechanism, every school has a system. Now, that is what I think is lacking. when we talk of a system, we actually have to design what is called an expert system for teachers. Now, what do we do in this? Effective teachers, we put them into a training where they work collaboratively with their colleagues and are continually learning and growing in ways to improve their teaching practice. Now, why they have to improve their teaching practice? Because student learning has taken a 360-degree turn. So the kind of teaching today, what is required is to be high-level knowledge workers who constantly advance their own professional knowledge as well as their own profession. So these two things, yeah. So what I am trying to emphasize here is, if and not if, we are already in the global market. And today I can proudly tell you that at least a dozen of my teachers this year have been observed by British schools and American schools because of their excellence in skill.
Yeah.
So what has happened is, today there has been a turn, a shift of focus from just the normal monologue of teachers to skill-based learning. And one thing that we definitely would like, and as a principal and sitting and interviewing panels, seeing so many teachers walk in, I have 100 teachers waiting for me next week for the interviews, and you can connect with me. I'm more than happy to take as many teachers as you want. And since I am the representative for UAE in the GCC, Sahodia, I can help you in that direction. We need teachers. There is a big crisis. We need teachers. However, in the UAE, we have something called teacher licensing system, which has come now. All of us have to be licensed. If you are licensed, then there is no other requirement. It is not easy. You have to pass a pedagogical test and a specialization test. Then you get a license. Now, this test is, again, ample time is given for preparation. So this is one of the areas that India can look up to and see what sort of preparation should be there and can be given in the form of a finishing school to teachers. So that when they come to the country, only when you come to the country, you can register for TLS. So when they come to the country, they are prepared to take these tests. And with these tests, they will be absorbed in the schools. And you are absolutely right. The salary structure is varied across 7 Emirates. So the teacher scales depend upon where the teacher is positioned. So if he is in Dubai and Abu Dhabi, then it is a college university degree, university lecturer salary for a school teacher. And in my school, my primary teacher gets about 80,000 to 90,000. I'm telling you, all on spouse visa. So the salaries are rich, but what is very important is the skill that we feel is lacking when they come straight from there. So the knowledge is there. And as Shastri ji was saying, Padma Shri Shastri ji, you're absolutely right. Language teachers are a big challenge for us because these teachers, first of all, accent is a problem. And so we have parents asking, why is this teacher, Hindi teacher, teaching in Malayalam? Actually, the teacher is teaching in Hindi, but then accent problem. So that is why the need to have multilingualism is very important. Secondly, they are masters in literature, but they are unable to make the child speak in that language. So because of their, maybe for multiple reasons, maybe because of the focus of syllabus, whatever it is. But we have found that teachers who come from here are able to give us the best of results. But if a parent, for example, we have third language in my school. I offer third language to every child from grade 3 to grade 8 with no assessments except verbal, vocal. So I have given 3 goals. Teach them the syllables, teach them the words, teach them to string a sentence, talk to them about the great authors, leave them at the door of literature. Don't go inside. And you will see that all these children are mastering 2 languages, 1 language extra. And this is only 2 periods in a week, like immersion programs. So globally, after hearing you both, I mean, I really wish we could talk more and do something to bring such teachers to our country. The country outside needs Indian teachers. And
Yes.
Today I'm telling you that all the British schools, the American schools think that Indian teachers are a lot more cheaper for them than go for outsiders. And they take our teachers just like that. Of course, salary wise, it is a huge jump. And coming to the Gulf, anybody wants money. So you can't stop them. But I can tell you something, that the COVID test was the best litmus test to prove in the world that Indian teachers are the best. And I can say this anywhere because we were all scared how they will embrace technology. How will I as a principal be able to tell and take care of these kids when we thought physically the schools were closed? Till today, we were probably in UAE, we closed only for 1 or 2 months. We didn't close at all. We just kept the gates open. All these teachers, my Indian teachers, were the ones who risked their life and came in and saw that learning never stopped. So whether it is a hybrid model, whether it is integrating technology, whether it is learning mastery of the skills, how to get competence-based learning into classrooms, all of this, we are the best. But if this type of pedagogy and the flow of classroom transaction can be altered in the B.Ed programs, the syllabus, when we talk about the syllabus, we are not saying anything, we are full. But transaction in the classroom, from theater classroom to studio classrooms, collaborative learning inside classroom, differentiated instructions inside classroom, if this syllabus can be integrated into our B.Ed programs, our teachers are, I mean, we don't even have to ask. I am sure Modi ji's dream is not very far away. It will happen at the earliest because they are doing it now outside the country. And with 25 years, okay, from a kindergarten teacher to that of a quality assurance specialist in the minister's office in Oman, and now as an educational affairs director for a group of schools, I finished the college, I finished the school, and I've come back to giving academic excellence to the school where I started my career. All of this being an Indian. I was the only Indian woman in the office among locals to go and audit institutions. How did it all happen? With the learning that we get from our teachers here. Our Gurukul system is now coming back. Collaborative learning is nothing but reinventing Gurukul system of learning, saying, take them under the trees, get them out of the classrooms, let them learn on their own, have a browsing center inside a classroom, have a discussion corner inside a classroom, keep an LED panel and let them work their way out inside a classroom. Let research-based education and transaction happen. And let me tell you, let us all be proud that all this, our teachers do it. I am a witness to that in UAE, and I'm sure it's happening in all the other countries too. It's only about how do we correct these a few small, let us say, I wouldn't say missing, maybe the curriculum that is offered in the B.Ed programs must be tailored a little to face the tune of 21st century learners, where creativity and innovation, these two things, and research-minded transaction. That's all. I am more than happy to support my country in any way towards understanding what is it that they are doing, because I would any day from now would want to come back to my country. It is time I came back to my country to give the best of what I've seen in the world and have a school and have institutions and help teachers master this skill of moving from knowledge to competency-based learning. How does a child gain mastery of a concept? No teacher till today is able to understand. How does a teacher understand when is a child moving from just knowledge, understanding to gaining mastery? So these are what we called the 21st century learning requirements. And with a little effort from our, let us say the panel or the board or the policies, we can definitely say that export Indian teachers is not a dream, but is already a reality. Thank you so much for giving me an opportunity, and I eagerly look forward to being of any use as an Indian. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Prema ma'am. Thank you very much. You're always very positive, very supportive from the UAE, and an elder brother. I'm looking forward to get you an honorary doctorate from Professor S.P. Singh ji. His university should give you a doctorate. You invited delegation from his university to UAE. Let them go over there, have a look at it, and so much positivity you bring always, and proud to you. And I'm morally committed as an elder brother. I have to arrange this year honorary doctorate for you, and you deserve it. You are well deserving.
Thank you.
Let me, from UAE, now go to Central Asia. Dr. Shilpi Mohan ma'am, by profession, she's a doctor, she's a cardiologist. और दिल की बातें होती रहें, दिल से दिल मिलते रहें, दिल तो पागल है, दिल वाले दुल्हनिया ले जाएंगे, दिल माने ना, दिल दिया दर्द लिया, दिल ने पुकारा, दिल की बड़ी बातें होती हैं. तो आइए, because I want to make atmosphere very light, because ma'am mentioned creativity, innovation, research, Prema ma'am, and she was telling how the knowledge to competency journey, and when do we come to know. So let's move on and let's go to Central Asia, and that is the Medivision 2047 with Dr. Shilpi Mohan ma'am. Please, let's travel to Central Asia. Yeah.
Good evening, everyone. And first of all, I would extend my warm wishes to all of you on Independence Day. And I would like to thank Dr. Gulshansharma for giving me the opportunity to share my views in front of this August gathering. In last 1 week, I have been listening to the enlightening sessions from different eminent speakers all over the world. And it is really incredible, and all the hard work of Dr. Gulshansharma and their team to bring all of them together on this platform. Heartiest congratulations to you. With this, I would like all of you to do some time traveling with me to share my vision, Medivision 2047, and I would like you to join this journey past 25 years and then forward 25 years. So here we go. So 25 years back, this was year 1997, and I was in medical college final year. And those days, internet was limited to college libraries, and internet were just limited to the cafes outside the college. I hope you all must be remembering those times in 1997, and we had to pay per hour for the crawling speed. Mobile and cellular revolution had just started in 1990s. And I remember medical investigation reports were paper-based, and we had to collect those reports from labs as a part of the job as duty doctor during registrarship. So in the early morning, we used to just line up to the labs to collect the medical reports before the professor used to come for the rounds. So this was how it was. Then you can see all the learning during the initial days of MBBS to learn the anatomy. It was all cadaver based. You can see me here with the cadaver and all of us just surrounding the cadaver to learn the anatomy. So those were the days. Medical intervention, which we know of, like stent placements and coronary angiographies and all those things. they had their inception in 1950s, and it came to India in 1990s, and there were just limited centers where stent placements, pacemakers, and intracardiac devices were done. And now you can see how the world has changed in 25 years. It has mushroomed all over the country, which was just limited to a few centers in 1990s. And those were the times when we were doing our MBBS, and we used to just revere them as heroes, those interventionists, and we used to wait for those days when we could meet them. Now coming to the present time, from that time we have shifted, and it has taken a big leap. We are now talking of robotic surgeries, hybrid procedures where intervention and surgery can be done together. There is digitalization of investigations, and we don't need to take those paper and collect those papers and lab reports. Everything is digitalized. It comes to your mobile, it comes to your email, and then you can just connect it with your doctor and just forward it to him. ECGs and vital parameters can be recorded on mobile and smart watches. And most of the patients, they do the ECG on Apple, and then they send if there is any ECG abnormality for us to see. Now we have portable echo machines. We have small X-ray devices also, very portable X-ray devices, which were very handy during COVID times. During COVID time, one thing which has played a definite role is telemedicine. Initially, we were hearing about telemedicine, but during COVID time, it played such a big role. When there were quarantine all around, telemedicine played such a big role. And I, sitting in Central Asia, I'm connected to many of my patients in India 24/7. And with that, patient, they don't need to go to the clinic, don't have to wait in different lines and waste their time. It is just over the phone. Everything can be connected, and patient can get best of the care through telemedicine. Artificial intelligence and other things like nanobots are used as investigative tools, and artificial intelligence is playing a big role in medical science. Initially, we used to divide the era as BC and AD, but now in some years we will see it would be like pre-COVID and post-COVID. So from the last 25 years, now we move to another 25 years, how healthcare of our country would be in 2047. So the 4 pillars which I can visualize as the strength of our Medicare in 2047 would be DigiVerse, DigiEdu, DigiPractice, and DigiGenetics. I would highlight all of them one by one. Coming to DigiVerse, it will be digitalization to the extent that healthcare will go beyond the borders of affluence. What I mean to say is, it will not be limited to the cities where the best of the doctors will be given, will be available to those people who are around the cities. Best of the doctors can provide care to the remotest of the places, those patients who are living in the remotest of the places, by smartphones and mobiles. See, there are patients who require surgical intervention or surgical procedures, but after that, they require just a follow-up. For that, they collect money, save money to reach those doctors, travel there, stay there, and do all those things. Those things can be curtailed by just connecting both of them on a telemedicine platform through smartphones. So it will just extend beyond the borders of affluence and reach the remotest of the places. Artificial intelligence will not replace the need for doctors. It is not that when the robots and other things will come, doctors will not be needed, but doctors with knowledge of AI will replace those without. So it will be an integration of technology with the warmth and the care which the doctors can provide. There will be health cards and unique identifier numbers like PAN card or Aadhaar card. One number will be there, and there will be no need to carry any medical records. And most of the patients, they forget their files. They just lose their files when they shift one home to another or somewhere down the line. So just one number and everything will come in front of the doctors. There will be no mobile, everything will be available on the virtual screen. Portable ECGs and X-rays will be there at most of the houses, like AC machines. Just visualize, we have ACs and other things which are just an integral part of our house. We don't think whether it's there or not. And similarly, those portable machines will be available. Patient can scan their things, just send it to the doctors, and everything will be done sitting at home. And there will be scanners for psychoanalysis, because psychoanalysis and psychosomatic diseases are so important to diagnose and treat the disease, that those scanners will be placed in the hospitals where the patient can be scanned, and overall scoring system can be maintained through those scanners to see whether there is a more of mental ailment or a physical ailment, or it is a mental ailment which is leading to the physical ailment. Coming to Digi-Edu, there will be a concept of global medical education, and there will be integration of different medical colleges through virtual platform. And artificial intelligence and IT will be an integral part of medical education. It will be not just limited to engineering or IT field. It will be integrated in medical education. And those cadavers and pics, those which I shared, those skilling will be done through simulators. It will be through audiovisual. In some of the colleges still right now also it is implemented audiovisual, but it will be audiovisual and tactile, so that those learners can feel the things and then learn through simulators. The medical learning will be shorter. It will not be so long, like 15 years. It will be shorter, more focused. And last but not the least, there will be integration of ancient and modern medical practices. Yoga and meditation will not be something which will be set apart. It will be a subject, separate subject included in the curriculum down the line in 2047. And here you can see that we will say no to cadavers, and everything will be done by simulators. Now coming to Digi Practice, medical care will be available at doorsteps, and I quote Dr. Devi Shetty, 95% of the medical care will be done through telemedicine. And the patient's digital database will be the biggest asset for the doctor for treatment as well as research. Robotic, hybrid, and nano-based procedures will be done, and investigations like ECGs, X-rays, blood tests, everything will be done at home, and data will be sent to the doctors for analysis. And only critical care and procedure-centric hospitals will be there. There will be less queues at the hospital, more care at home. Only those 5% of the patients who require some procedure will go to the hospital. Rest, everything can be done at home, saving the time of the doctors. Their skill can be utilized for those patients who require critical care, and it will save the time of those patients who have to get involved in various activities other than just taking care of their health. So this is how you can see handheld X-ray machines are there. They are so small, eco machines are so small. So everything is like digitalized and everything is integrated and connected. Now coming to digigenetics. Like we make Janam Patri, that time Digi analysis will be a prerequisite for marriage and alliances. Just think of it, how the genes are and everything, those parameters will be assessed, and then the marriage will take place. And there will be pre-planned, pre-conceptualized, customized babies. And those gene pools and records will help in better analysis, better analysis and management of those diseases which can be identified early and treated early in the prenatal and early stages of life. So another 100 years of our independence, total 100 years of independence, I visualize that the healthcare will be like Ashwata tree, a tree of life, where the roots will be formed by digigenetics and digi practice, so that we will integrate our knowledge of ancient wisdom and yoga, meditation, and modern practices, and will strengthen our roots. The trunk will be formed by Digi-Edu, which will allow us to strengthen the education system, and through the Digiverse, it will form the branches that through the Digiverse, we will extend this knowledge to the entire world. As has been said by Honorable Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji today, Yat Pinde Tat Brahmande. So we will be, whatever is inside is what is there in the cosmos. So we will be deeply rooted to the basis, but the sky will be the limit for us. So this is what my vision is in 2047. And I dream of I'll quote Honorable Pradhan Mantri ji, I dream of a digital India where quality healthcare percolates right up to the remotest regions through power of e-healthcare. Thank you so much for your patient listening.
That's great.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you, ma'am. You always come out with something, and Professor Jagdish Sheth sir is also giving his blessings to you all the way from the United States. Great. That is something remarkable. You have put it onto the paper 2047. Ma'am, could you please close your presentation? That would be very, very kind of you, so that we can just have the full view and we can have everybody coming directly. You got to close your presentation, ma'am. Then I'll change. Yes, thank you very much. Thank you. That's lovely. And मेडिकल से प्रोफेसर एसपी सिंह जी, बस मुझे थोड़ी सी इजाजत और दे दीजिए, क्योंकि मैं ये इनका एक अच्छा सा पेड़ देखने के बाद और वो मेडिकल सर्विसेज देखने के बाद और 2047 का विजन देखने के बाद मुझे 1965 वापस याद आता है। मैं मेरे देश की धरती सोना उगले उगले हीरे मोती, and that is late Lal Bahadur Shastri ji as a Fauji, Jai Jawan, Jai Kisan. So Pandurang B. Thavde ji, because you being the leader for agri-tourism, rural tourism, organic tourism, आप है ना, कहीं सो तो नहीं गए, चले तो नहीं गए, कहीं हो सकता है कि खेतों के दर्शन करने गए हो। नमस्कार नमस्कार। मैंने कहा कहीं आप एग्री टूरिज्म के लिए दूर ना चले गए हो मुझसे, तो मैं आपको वापस बुला लूं, क्योंकि आपका कोरोना काल में इतना अच्छा योगदान रहा। और मैं अपनी आत्मा से आज आपको बोल रहा हूं, एग्री टूरिज्म का इतना बड़ा पोटेंशियल है भारत में आने वाले वक्त में। जैसे डॉक्टर शिल्पी मोहन मैम ने योगा, मेडिटेशन और बाकी ट्रेडिशनल मेडिसिन सब चीजों की बातचीत की, तो आप जो है अच्छा भोजन शरीर में डलवाएंगे, ऑर्गेनिक चीजें दिलवाएंगे, फर्टिलाइजर्स और सब चीजें खत्म होंगी, लोग खुद आएंगे। मैं बताना नहीं चाहता कि कोरोना काल में लोगों को समझ आ गई कि जमीन के नीचे क्या उगता है और जमीन के ऊपर क्या उगता है। लोगों को पता ही नहीं है इस चीज का, और मॉडर्न जनरेशन तो बिल्कुल नहीं जानती है। तो मैं पांडुरंग बी थावड़े जी जो प्रेसिडेंट हैं एग्री टूरिज्म के भारत में, मैं उनसे निवेदन करूंगा वो अपने विचार, और उसके बाद हम प्रोफेसर एसपी सिंह जी के पास चलेंगे नॉर्थ ईस्ट में रॉयल ग्लोबल यूनिवर्सिटी में। और एसपी सिंह जी, आप अपनी वो तस्वीर ध्यान से पब्लिक को जरूर दिखाइए जो आपने यूट्यूब पे शायद व्हाट्सएप पे डाली है, जहां पर आपके यूनिवर्सिटी की जो बिल्डिंग है उसका आज आपने तिरंगा किस तरीके से प्लान किया है 75 इयर्स में। तो इन्हीं शब्दों के साथ पांडुरंग बी थावड़े जी।
नमस्ते सर, सभी गुरुजनों को मेरा प्रणाम। मेजर डॉक्टर गुलशन शर्मा जी और जो इंटरनेशनल चैम्बर ऑफ सर्विस इंडस्ट्री के डायरेक्टर जनरल है, उन्हीं के इनविटेशन पे आज हम यहाँ पे आए हैं और मैं दिल से उनका शुक्र अदा करना चाहता हूँ। अभी डॉक्टर मैडम ने जो प्रेजेंटेशन दिया, तो हम सभी बोलते हैं कि एक फैमिली डॉक्टर होना चाहिए, तो मैं यहाँ पे प्रपोज करता हूँ कि एक फैमिली फार्मर भी होना चाहिए।
वाव वाव
ये टाइम आ चुका है, कि एक फैमिली फार्मर होना बहुत जरूरी है, बिकॉज पूरे विश्व में फूड सिक्योरिटी का जो प्रॉब्लम हो रहा है, अगर आपका फार्मर फ्रेंड नहीं होगा तो सोचिए आप क्या हो सकता है। अमृत महोत्सव के शुभ अवसर पे आप सभी गुरुजनों को शुभकामनाएं देते हुए, आप सभी को मालूम है कि इंडिया एक एग्रीकल्चरिस्ट कंट्री है। मैं आपका ज्यादा समय नहीं लूंगा, ज्यादा से ज्यादा 4 मिनट लूंगा। तो आपको सभी को मालूम है कि इंडिया इज एग्रीकल्चरिस्ट कंट्री, और यहाँ पे आप गुरुजनों को, आप टीचर्स, सभी टीचर्स है और विश्व भर से आप टीचर्स ये प्रोग्राम में जुड़े हैं। तो मुझे एक ही प्रपोज करना है यहाँ पे कि क्यों ना टीचर्स फार्मर की तरह हो, क्यों? बिकॉज फार्मर क्रिएट्स द लैंड एंड सॉइल conditions for the optimal growth. Farmer creates the land and soil for the optimal growth. पहला मुद्दा. दूसरा मुद्दा ये है कि farmer sets out a fence line or the boundary within which the nurtured growth can take best. Farmer sets out the fence line or the boundary within which the nurtured growth can best take place. मेरा third point है, farmer breaks some of the hard rocks. Farmer breaks some of the hard rocks to allow seeds the space required to take the growths. मेरा चौथा मुद्दा है, farmer provides nutrients to the best growing plants. Farmer provides the nutrients for the best growing plants. मेरा पांचवा मुद्दा है, farmer does the judicious pruning and weeding to grow real crops and real growth. Farmer does the judicious pruning and weeding to grow the real crops. And I think if we all educators collaborate with this simple metaphor, I think we can do wonders for the next generations.
Yeah.
And we can do wonders to the next generation, because we as a farmers, we are doing agritourism in India to keep farm in the family and family in the farm. Because किसान के घर खेती नहीं रहेंगी और खेती में किसान नहीं रहेगा, तो आपको मालूम है कि क्या हो सकता है. So on this positive note, I thank Dr. Major Gulshan Kumar ji and all the stalwarts from all over the world, giving a farmer as an opportunity to be amongst all of you. गुरुजनों को हमारा फिर से मैं सादर प्रणाम करता हूँ और जय हिंद बोलता हूँ, जय किसान बोलता हूँ और जय जवान बोलता हूँ. धन्यवाद.
पांडुराव जी, आप क्या हैं आपको पता ही नहीं है. पांडुराव जी, आप भारत में क्या कर सकते हैं आपको नहीं पता है. मैंने पिछले साल 40 साल अपने जीवन के टूरिज्म के साथ लगाए हैं और फाइनली मैं आकर रुक जाता हूं एग्री टूरिज्म पर. मैंने सब तरह का टूरिज्म देख लिया, लेकिन अगर एग्रीकल्चर नहीं बचेगा, भोजन सही नहीं मिलेगा, तो ज्यादा से ज्यादा लोग डॉक्टर शिल्पी मोहन मैम के पास पहुंचेंगे दवाई के लिए, मेडिसिन के लिए, जो मैं नहीं चाहता. मैं चाहता हूं. और दूसरा, एक नए तरीके की कैंपेन पूरे भारत में अपने एजुकेशन सिस्टम के साथ शुरू करें कि बच्चे खेतों में जाएं, बच्चे खेतों को विजिट करें और नेचर के साथ ही सब चीज हो. आई थिंक देयर इज अ लॉट ऑफ स्कोप. मैं आपके साथ एक इंटरनेशनल सेमिनार और एक इंटरनेशनल कॉन्फ्रेंस करने जा रहा हूं. मैंने अपना मन बना लिया है और एग्री टूरिज्म के लिए हमारा चेंबर इस चीज के लिए समर्पित होगा, क्योंकि आप इतने कमिटेड हैं. आज आपने सिर्फ 4 मिनट 5 मिनट में सब कुछ बता दिया. आपका जो पूरा वेबिनार है 45 मिनट्स का ड्यूरिंग द पैंडेमिक, वो आपने जो विचार रखे थे, हर बच्चे को, हर शिक्षक को पता होना चाहिए सब्जियां क्या हैं, अनाज क्या है, पानी कितना चाहिए, किस तरीके से, किस मौसम में क्या चीज को. आज 12 महीने हम एक सब्जी को दे रहे हैं, उसका असर कहां रहेगा, क्योंकि आर्टिफिशियल वे में सब कुछ हम प्रदान दे रहे हैं. आपका बहुत बड़ा आभार है तवाड़े जी, और मैं आपको पुनः जल्द मिलूंगा और आपको लेकर आऊंगा. आपके आज आने के लिए भी मेरा बहुत बहुत मन से आपके लिए आभार है. इन्हीं शब्दों के साथ, लेडीज एंड जेंटलमैन, लेट्स मूव टू my beautiful northeast part of India. The flight is landing in Guwahati, and just at the arm's length, my guest house is ready, and I'll be going to the beautiful building. This evening will start right from there when we go to Royal Global University. Professor S.P. Singh ji, आपके साथ हम चलते हैं अभी नॉर्थ ईस्ट में और रॉयल ग्लोबल यूनिवर्सिटी में. आइए.
डॉक्टर सिंह जी, एक 1 सेकंड लेता हूं मैं. डॉक्टर शर्मा जी, मैं खेत में ही बैठा हूं. आज दिन भर हमने सोइंग किया है, तो आप इसी प्लेटफॉर्म से मैं आपको सबको विनती करता हूं कि अगर सब समय निकाल के आइए हमारे खेत में और हम बहुत गप्पे मारेंगे. धन्यवाद.
आभार. Professor S.P. Singh ji.
Yes. Major Dr. Gulshansharma ji, first of all, let me heartily thank you for inviting me today and giving me an opportunity to learn so many things in the last almost 2 hours. I think we as a teacher, I personally feel as a teacher, I learn every minute, I learn every second. And I would love to be a teacher till the time my learning sense is ready to learn. After that, probably I will not be called a teacher. I should not be called a teacher. So that is one. I'm thankful to everyone, from Sanjay ji to everyone, and all the experiences from UAE to Kyrgyzstan and everyone. Thank you so very much, my esteemed panel members today, especially first of all, salutation to all the lady members. My first respect goes to all of you. And I really salute your jazba, salute your passions, salute your time. And then definitely we have a very senior person with us, Professor Jagdish and Sheikh Saab. Thank you so very much. And all my other esteemed members today. Gulshan Sharma ji, I think it will be very, very difficult for me to bring my thoughts together in 5 minutes. You know, professors are not known for speaking 5 minutes. We require minimum 50 minutes class. But however, when it is to be concluded in 5 minutes, I think I will try to just grab a few things. And as we have discussed yesterday through our chat that you want more about Northeast India. So I would love to tell you about Northeast India and especially the potential, not only with respect to the topic today. I think topic definitely is related to the teachers' education and how we can train teachers for global, teachers. I would start from Azadi ka Amrit Mahotsav. I would start from a salutation to all those people who are especially teachers. Many of my colleagues who are in UAE, ma'am, they are in huge numbers, all including, I was Vice Chancellor of MIT, founder Vice Chancellor of MIT, Chhattisgarh MITs, they're also in UAE, and everything I know. Almost 100 of my colleagues are working in UAE and they are professors and they are doing very, very well. And they are there from last 8, 9, 10 years. America also, telemedicine, madam. The head of telemedicine in America, Dr. Saurav Chandra, is my classmate. So that way I can say whatever you. So this is the way the life I have seen. And I salute the people who are, doing all the activities there. And you are basically trying to fulfill what we are talking today after NEP 2020, where we have discussed about to make India Vishwa Guru. You all are already doing that job. You are already in that frame of mind. The gurus from India are there to teach the people of the other country in the world. And this is the only way to make India Vishwa Guru. So the topic today, Gulshan Sharma ji, is very, very pertinent. And if at all we are able to produce such kind of gurus and teachers who are not only knowledgeable and skilled and having language, with due respect to everybody here, these 3 things are important because these are something which is initially required to train teachers and train students for their life. But more than that, if you really want to be a Vishwa Guru, I think we can learn and become Vishwa Guru only by 3 major components of Indian culture. That is, I would say, Sanskriti, Sanskar, and Sansarik Gyan. The 3 things I always say. If we bring together the Sanskriti, Sanskar, and Sansarik Gyan, and we take it along, because I'm running a school of nursing, a school of physiotherapy, a school of medical lab technology, a school of optometry, a school of operation theater technology, a school of fine arts, a school of performing arts. You name a school other than medical, we have all the schools in our institution called Royal Global University. And with all those things, whenever we talk about our student Gulshan Sharma ji, you always come in my mind. There is huge demand of nurses in all countries, including Japan, which is aging. All aging countries require huge number of nurses. And we are training our students now with Japanese language so that they can get a job easily. And Japan is a very well-paid master, and nurses are highly paid there. At the same time, we have another issue here. If nurses will go there, those nurses from India will be more sought after nurses from any other country, not only based upon that they know Japanese language and they know nursing procedures, but also with their compassion. And Northeast especially, what I wanted to conclude now here, Northeast is still an untapped, untouched potential of the country, where I would say the simplicity, honesty, and everything is intact. This is the one part of the country which is still very, very pure. And this purity of thoughts and purity of mind and purity of touch will make my students more successful and will be part of a better human being wherever they go. So this Vishwaguru concept with Northeast, which is going to be the pivot for the whole growth of Southeast Asian countries. The time, another 20-25 years, the golden time, or I say diamond time for the country after 75 years of independence is another 25 years till 2047, which has been said by Dr. Shilpi, is going to be not of the West. It is going to be East. It is going to be Central and East Asia, and which is going to flourish and proliferate. And therefore, our country and Northeast is going to be the pivot of that whole sector of Southeast Asian countries. In that scenario, another 25 years, the growth engine, which Honorable Prime Minister of India also says, if the growth engine starts from Northeast and the Northeast take the lead in growing this whole scenario, and when the connection from the Burma will be there, Myanmar will be there, we can reach Delhi and Thailand at the same time by road. So this is the type of strategic position we have. In such circumstances, Gulshan Sharma, I'm coming to the topic, we all can prepare with students. I'm going to touch upon three things. Either it is through finishing a school, or it is through the change in, as I think been said by Prema Madam, in pedagogy, or maybe the curriculum, or blending international and national institution together, which is a part of NEP, that I can blend my curriculum with the requirement of a particular country, where all the teachers being produced in a particular B.Ed college or D.Ed college, they will be ready to do a job in 1, 2, 3 countries from where we already have an MOU and tie-up, and we are preparing students. So I'm a student of strategy and management. So I would probably touch upon a few things because the numbers are huge. 96.96 lakh teachers in our country, and 15.1 lakh schools out of 10.1. So this is the statistic that Sanjay ji has said. I 100% appreciate the government perspective, but it has also been seen in India that the education which is most sought after, especially in terms of schools, is being sought after in the private schools. And one more thing I always say, and I 100% believe that the quality of the teachers, what we have, are insufficient. I'm using a specific word. The quality of the teachers we require is insufficient. The TET examination mockery I have seen in many states, including Uttar Pradesh and also in Assam. The type of quality in TET examination and the B.Ed schools and colleges being taught by unqualified teachers or qualified teachers, but not right kind of teaching aptitude, is making the whole education system bad. So I'm not going to touch upon those points. We know very well in B.Ed colleges how many qualified teachers are there. And we also know the qualified teachers coming for university system, how we are able to groom them. So this is a quality issue I'm not going to touch upon. But whatever is there, we have huge I would say resource crunch of quality teachers in India itself. And next goes to the outside. And I tell you, the people who go outside are the best of my teachers. So the best of the teachers, like I think Prema Madam, others, they have gone abroad. So India is again having a crunch of quality teachers. So this quality consciousness, which is a part of NEP, we have to look into it. So therefore, Gulshan Sharma ji, my honest and earnest request to you, finishing a school is one model. Duolingo to 75, new language things, which is going to be Central Institute of Indian Language, Mysore is going to come up. Languages can come in hand through digital university or digital platforms. Finishing school can also start with digital platforms and finishing schools. But I would say that let us have a strategic viewpoint of the issue. We have requirements somewhere. We have a particular requirement and particular skill set required for that particular requirement. Let us bring together the university system and the B.Ed educational institution together and prepare teachers for a particular, because my other senses, that may be my behavior, that may be my interest. We have something called Ek Bharat Shresth Bharat. There's a language talk was when it was going on. I may not be interested in 10 languages to know, but I may be having affinity to Kannada. I may be having affinity to Malayalam. I may be having affinity to Marwari. So let me decide at one point of time that what kind of culture, the twinning system in India is going up. So I may be expert in having 2-3 languages with me. And that way, same thing can happen with international languages where the student want to go. From the very beginning, if we create that kind of ecosystem where the student knows they are doing nursing, and end of the day, they are going to have a job in Japan. And during that period of time, the Japanese language, they are efficient with, and that way they are having their future safe from the beginning. So this kind of thing should come together. And we in Northeast are ready for any kind of such intervention through which the students of Northeast India can make India a more proliferating country all over the world with their all good, I would say intentions and good, behavior. They can lead the country in the world through this model. So Gulshan Sharma ji, we can have some discussion on these issues in due course of time. I'm just concluding because I've already taken 7 minutes of time. So if I have extended my time limit, I'm so sorry for that. But it was a great learning for me on many aspects. And we are always ready to host you, any one of you want to come to Northeast India. We are really very, very close to the airport, and also we have a very beautiful guest house and the university, and very beautiful teachers and very beautiful students, and a very, very charming place this is. You must come and visit. This is my 13th year here, and I feel as if I have come yesterday. So that is the journey I have traveled so far. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you, Professor Singh sir. And the thanks comes from Professor Jagdish Sheth sir also. The More is the gateway to Southeast Asia via when we enter from Manipur. Your university is the gateway to Northeast. The moment I land in Guwahati airport, the first university I come across, a wonderful palatial kind of a building and aura, the heritage, it's something is fantastic. प्रोफेसर साहब, there's a lot to be done with you. कभी कभी मिलते रहा कीजिए, क्योंकि आप मिलते नहीं हैं. सबसे बड़ी प्रॉब्लम ये है कि आप बहुत कम मिलते हैं. आप मिलते रहिए. There is a lot to be done in northeast part of India, and the honorable earlier the former vice chancellor of Dibrugarh University who went to Tejpur, he's also with you now. The other day he had come. So there's a lot which is to be done, and right from the bottom of my heart, from my soul, my spirit, I'm telling, next birth, I'm going to be reborn. Moksha to milna nahi. I'll come to Northeast. So with these words, ladies and gentlemen, with the permission of the chair, Professor Sheth sir, I would come to Madam Priya Vishweshwaran ma'am, 5 to 6 minutes of yours, ma'am. And thereafter, then we would call it because digital university concept has to come. The vision which Professor Jagdish Sheth sir had given to the Honorable Prime Minister, we will finally conclude today's deliberation on that. It was a week-long festivity or festival of 75-year celebrations of ours of India's independence, which we started with Professor Jagdish Sheth sir, and today we would request him to give the valedictory. With these words, Priya Vishweshwaran ma'am, great regards to you, your father. You have contributed tremendous and very, very valuable to all of us. Please go ahead, ma'am.
I'm sorry. Thank you so much, Major Dr. Gulshan Sharma ji. I'm so grateful to you and to Dr. Chitra Kapoor ji and to your team for giving me this honor and this opportunity. Happy Independence Day. Har Ghar Tiranga. And please know that this country, the United States of America, is your friend. We love India. We celebrate our roots in India. We are from India. We are Indian diaspora in this country. And I can speak to the love and affection that American brothers and sisters have for Indian brothers and sisters. And with that, I would like to congratulate India for 75 years of independence from everybody here in the US as well. So I want to start with a small slide, just thanking everybody, including all these great people. My primary mentor, Honorable Dr. John Asraf, Dr. Mark Robert Wallman, several of these people have contributed their intellectual property and their efforts to what I have shared over the last few weeks with yourselves. I also want to mention my respected father, who helped President Shri Abdul Kalam ji with India's first missile Agni. And then immediately NASA brought him to the US, and my mother, and then they founded the Vishwa Group. And with their help and with everything that they have contributed. So I just want to go to the start of the presentation. We have 5 minutes and I want to restrict myself literally to that time. Mr. Sadanand Subramaniam, who has helped me with this presentation, he will be he is the director of the Immortality Institute. And here we have the Vishwa Institute of Higher Education. And within due course of time, we will be starting to award 2 PhDs a year in an area of medicine that we are expanding and creating, which we call regenerance and entrepreneurship. Regenerance is the study of how we have hypothesized and patented the existence of the human body's regenerative organ system, which we call regeneros. And regeneros is how the body regenerates itself in a systemic way. And regenerance is the science of the study of that. And this is, these are words that we have sort of introduced into the medical lexicon. Regeneretics is a technology by which we keep this regenerative organ system or regeneros constantly functioning to regenerate the body, which we believe has an infinite capacity to heal. These concepts come from yoga, meditation, and Ayurveda. So sun salutations to Mother India for giving the bud of immortality, which is turning into a rose because of those deep concepts and understanding of life energy and how the soul animates the body and so on. So yes, I agree that someday there will be an integration of Eastern and Western medicine, but the concepts will come from the truth, which was studied and exposed to the world by Eastern medicine. We talked a little bit about the statistics. 670 million of the 1 billion school-going students during the pandemic could not write one paragraph or get the correct change after purchasing something from a store. So we think that these estimates of the world needing 69 million more teachers by 2030 can very conservatively be doubled or even tripled to have, you know, this number of children actually receive a proper education. India is the only country that we know with a surplus of teachers. Some 1.7 million are being trained more than is needed every year. These statistics are from you, Dr. Gulshansharma ji. And you also said that you have a roster of 15 million teachers that are awaiting employment outside. And this is a fantastic thing. It is an invaluable, natural resource for India. It's an invaluable natural resource for India. And we believe that the future is very, very bright for our children, very bright for people who enter into the teaching profession and enter into education. And so I also want to share some other things that we're working on, which is we have suggested to the powers, that control the global wealth, which reside in the United Kingdom. So primarily the royal family, young generation. We've suggested to them to consider putting out a global currency, which will be based on the ingenuity and the creativity of people and their contribution to the global protection of universal human rights, human values. And points will be deducted for anything that they invent or they do that damage their own people or people of another country. So if this forms the basis of a global currency, then there will be world peace. So they are considering that instead of making a global currency be based on things like gold, which can be looted, plundered, and lifted as spoils of war, which propagate the war-based global order. So coming to values-based education, I was very lucky and blessed to meet Shri Rajendra Bendre in the last couple of days through Sadhguru ji. His guru is Shri Ganesh Bagaria. And they are training this AI, All India Technical Education Council, through their organization Manaviya Shiksha Sanskar Santan in Kanpur. And Sri Rajendra Bendre works with Muni International School. And they're training their students. In fact, they've trained over 1,000 CBSE teachers in what is called universal human values. Universal human values of truth, love, compassion, justice, liberty, equality, fraternity, human rights, sustainable development, living and global well-being, realistic, measurable attributes reflecting these, and in environmentally responsible science, technology, management, socially responsible skills, teamwork, collaboration, meaningful participation in family, neighborhood, and all this. So I salute Mother India for taking this initiative. For 30 years, Sri Ganesh Bagaria, in fact, when President Abdul Kalam was alive, he spoke about Sri Ganesh Bagaria's efforts for 3 minutes at a previous Independence or Republic Day celebration out of the 20-minute speech he gave. So I want to talk about the future now. And the future will be much brighter because the whole world, all children will be trained in these universal human values. And this is going to make it a much better, much more beautiful world, like the words in the great poem Vande Mataram speak of, Sashya Shamalam, I mean, now I'm forgetting, I had written the words to Vande Mataram, right? All the words speaking about the breeze from the mountains and the flowers blooming and, there being peace and just beauty and the flowering of prosperity that is going to happen, right? So now we'll talk specifically about what the future of work looks like. I believe there are at least 200 areas of inner personal development that every undergraduate student, by the time they graduate from college with a bachelor's degree, will need to have mastered. We are talking in the near future, 25 to 50 years time. So I listed about a few tens of these topics. So I'm not going to read them out. I just want to sort of just go through these slides so you can see precision in communication. What does respect mean? How to feel it, how to demonstrate it. The punctuality thing is just for me, it's for nobody else. Effective communication, creative thinking, problem solving, diagnosing the problem, resourcefulness, right? Critical thinking, right? Rational reasoning, ethics, emotional and spiritual intelligence, bodily intelligence, rapid visual processing of large quantities of data, working with difficult people, connecting the dots of one's life, how to identify life's purpose at different stages, and how to set goals, right? These are all skills, personal skills, how to cultivate fabulous relationships, right? These are physical fitness, strength, balance, agility, flexibility, endurance. They're going to have to learn how to solve complex life personal problems. I'm talking about 200 personal skills here. So we've listed about 100 of them here, 108 or so of them. So I'm not going to read everyone. I'm happy to share this presentation if you're interested. Cultivating interoception, which is inner awareness of what the body is trying to tell us. When a heart rate is high, does it mean stress? Does it mean a heart attack? What is going on the inside of the body, and having that relationship with the body and that inner communication with the body. So there's a lot. Cultivating gratitude, cultivating appreciation for the need of all these things, appreciation of others' contributions, thought processes, minds, personal life experiences. So this is the 200 or so self. We are having this increase in this gender dysphoria globally. So they have to understand what is going on the inside of that person. And that's a soul, spiritual intelligence, right? How to help disabled people, how to cook for oneself, right? How to lift others as we climb. This is from my mentor, John Asraf. How to slow down to move fast. How to convert rejection into fuel for action. The correct understanding, appreciation, application of failure. How to organize one's life, right? We believe that each graduating undergrad student will also need to know about 40 to 50 subjects in order to have meaningful and powerful career paths and employment. And so we listed about 20 of these. And how to be a model global student, universal human values, how to grow your own food. Recycling, how to take care of the environment, using water and food resourcefully, managing time and priorities, data sciences, artificial intelligence, metaverse-based educational skills, finance, health and personal fitness, relationships and their management, complex decision-making, robots, quantum computing, understanding the future of work and entrepreneurship. How are you going to be an entrepreneur in the future? It's going to be a lot different than how people have been an entrepreneur in the past. Very different, because you got to acquire a lot more skills and you got to get it really fast. And then this other thing in the US, we're going to see a transportation revolution in the next less than 10 years. The US Transportation Secretary, Mr. Pete Buttigieg, is an Oxford and Rhodes scholar. They have him studying all these proposals to take transportation vertically. So when transportation goes vertical, I'll just take 1 minute to explain this. It's such a quantum change that is going to happen in the transportation industry. We're going to have drones, we're going to have flying cars. There are multiple companies, at least 10 companies that are making flying cars. So what is that going to require, right? What kind of governmental infrastructure is that going to require? When Mr. Trump was president, he already started this US Space Force. But I did a rough calculation. And if we put one air transport officer or guard for 1 cubic mile of atmospheric space, that's 2 billion of them that will be needed to patrol 1 cubic mile of atmospheric space. If we're going to make them work only 12 hours at a time, then that's 4 billion jobs that will pay $60,000 at least for each of them. They will need equipment like a floating motorcycle that's invisible. They will need weapons that are not gunpowder based. And lots of other things that will emerge from that. Sorry, I'm breathing in this. There's a homam going on here at the house for Shradam, so I'm breathing in those fumes.
Take some water, ma'am.
Yeah, I will. Thank you.
Take some water.
Thank you.
And meanwhile, because as we have to come to Professor Jagdish and Sheth sir, I will just show, while I was sitting over here, my wife has made a vegetarian cake for all of us. So I would request Professor Jagdish Sheth sir to cut the cake and we all can share it. It's written 75. And when the deliberations were going on, she was preparing the vegetarian, completely eggless cake. And this is 100% vegetarian, which we all can enjoy. Feel it only, the fragrance, rest I will have.
Fantastic.
Yes, please go ahead. Yes, Priya ma'am.
Oh, I just want to finish up really quickly.
Yeah.
So we were saying that Vishwa Institute of Higher Education, presented by Dr. Viss and Mrs. Lalita Viss, and all of our American brothers and sisters who are investing their life energy for free into these endeavors. We are offering these 7 types of coaching, healthcare coaching, to the India's first digital university. If Major Gulshan Sharma ji approves, then we can offer this to lakhs of people who are already trained as teachers. And we will not only train them as coaches, we will back them up, we will create the business model, and we will help them deliver the teaching to students and to their parents. We can even make schools as hubs where they're training students and teachers in these things. And we will help them create a revenue model for this. These are our small gifts of gratitude. And I just wanted to list everything that you and I have discussed, Major Gulshan Sharma ji. We will connect you to multiple schools and educational institutions in the US. We need 5 lakh teachers here at a governmental level and private school ownership levels. We will connect you with our friends and well-wishers, Vice President Kamala Harris, congressional members Shri Raja Krishnamurthy and Ro Khanna. We will provide education to Mother India and how to create micro-learning training for complex graduate level work in Indian subject matter, including languages, yoga, meditation, to teach the world. And we will provide you with already created micro-learning modules in all advanced subject matter of complex graduate level work done in all subjects, so that you can create nano-learning.
Thank you for your offer, ma'am. Thank you for your offer, ma'am. I will discuss with Professor Sheth sir, because the report which we are preparing and going to submit to the Honorable Prime Minister.
Yes,
because today's deliberation, last 1 week deliberation, we are synthesizing the entire report and will send to the Honorable Prime Minister's office. So with these words, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much to Priya ma'am. And as a younger sister, she had been very, very supportive. I send you
Thank you.
all my regards and gratitudes as an elder brother.
Appreciate you
You're
so
doing
much, sir. Thank
wonderful
you.
job over there. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, brother.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. God bless you.
And
Appreciate you.
with these words, ladies and gentlemen, I know I overshot the time because initially we had some technical hassles and I didn't want to stop anybody in between, because when the flow is there, the good human being should never stop. Professor Vivek Shankar Natarajan ji finally will conclude the vote of thanks after we have taken the valedictory address of Professor Jagdish and Sheth sir. And we would make a humble request to you, sir, कि जो आपका सपना है भारत के लिए, जो आपने ऑनरेबल प्राइम मिनिस्टर साहब के साथ डिजिटल यूनिवर्सिटी का पूरा कॉन्सेप्ट डिस्कस किया था, और उसके बाद वो सारे विजन को ऑनरेबल प्राइम मिनिस्टर ने, फाइनेंस मिनिस्टर ने, सब चीजों ने डिजिटल यूनिवर्सिटी का जो कॉन्सेप्ट आगे लेकर चले. एंड those have joined us today from the world over. I wish to share Philip Kotler's book when it had come on marketing and management. The one first chapter which was introduced by anybody who was given a space and a place in that book, that was Professor Jagdish and Sheth sir, and that made MBA popular in India, and people started going to United States, understanding what management education is and everything to be taken care of. हमने start किया आज National Council for Teacher Education संजय अवस्थी जी से. I hold him in a great respect because teacher education में बहुत काम किया, and now we are working and moving in the direction. Teachers को बाहर place भी करना है, टीचर्स को बाहर भेजना भी है, उनको प्रॉपरली एजुकेट भी करना है. थावड़े साहब सुन रहे हैं तो एग्रीकल्चर को भी लेके चलना है, एग्री टूरिज्म को भी साथ लेकर चलना है. नॉर्थ ईस्ट इज नेक्स्ट टू आवर हार्ट. Lot is to be done in Northeast to bring them at par with rest of India because they deserve a lot. हमने बहुत देर तक ना सड़कें थी, ना ट्रेन था, ना एयरपोर्ट था, ना कुछ था. और जब मैं कभी जाया करता था यूनिफॉर्म में तो वो कहते थे, oh, you have come from India, because they were not connected that time. So rich cultural heritage of that part also. So ladies and gentlemen, let me present before you Professor Jagdish and Sheth sir. Under his patronage, this entire 1-week program was planned, conceived, chiseled, developed, harnessed, and I'm grateful to everybody. Those have joined for this program for the last 1 week and they're watching this particular program. And और भी आप लोगों में से जो लोग जुड़ना चाहते हैं, I would now request Professor Jagdish and Sheth sir to share his vision for India, what is to be done, how it is to be done, and 2047, the vision of the Honorable Prime Minister of India. Let's work in that particular direction. Over to Professor Jagdish and Sheth sir, our chief guest of the morning, afternoon, and evening.
Thank you, Dr. Gulshansharma. This whole 8-day series has been very enlightening, and you are absolutely a civil servant now. You are, of course, the military servant at one time, but servant leadership is what you offer, which is most gratifying. It is always a joy to work with you in the process.
Thank you, sir.
Before I start my own comments, and we'll make it very short, main thing is to really thank the panel today. So many panel members. If you look at the collective wisdom and experience, it is more than 200 years easily. And very diverse experiences, but still convergent in terms of their views. The most convergent thing I saw, listening quite a lot around here, is the passion. Not only the passion for what India can do, but passion of what I can contribute personally. And the passion, in fact, is a sense of gratitude. India has done well for me, what can I do for India? That came through without the language. It just is there in the air pretty much in their presentations. And each presentation had a unique perspective, which is exactly what we need. The diversity allows us to unify ourselves at the same time. I will talk about two different aspects. One, of course, is how do we make our teachers ready for worldwide teaching and why? And again, as I might have said in the first day, I'll repeat that again because to me, it crystallizes in my mind why India is destined to become the service capital of the world, not just manufacturing, but more importantly, the teacher capital of the world, as it is trying to become nursing capital of the world. I'll just come to that in a moment. If you take a grain of wheat and make it into a loaf of bread, agricultural commodity, the value add is only 3 times. Value of the loaf compared to the value of the wheat flour. If you take a rough diamond, cut, polish, nurture, a good diamond cutter will get the value out 15 to 20 times. That's the difference between the value of the price of the rough diamond versus the finished diamond. If you take a human being, mentor, educate, value add is infinite. This is what I believe the goal of a nation is ultimately. A nation which aspires to unlock the potential of its people, to make ordinary people extraordinary, enables in their journey to unlock their own potential so that they not only become good citizens, but they are having this drive to contribute back to the society. So giving forward in many ways. To me, that's very important. And the reason I point that one out is that I'm one of them. I was born in Burma before World War II. Japan was rolling over all of the Southeast nations to come to India to capture Calcutta, which was the British capital for the whole of British Empire. And my father refused to leave Burma because his life was there as a merchant community. And ultimately we had to leave because I had teenage sisters at that time. And we decided to finally make a jump and leave, and we lost everything. Came back to the native place, struggled 7-8 years. But I find 2 things. One is that if you survive an adversity, it builds a character. It builds an inner strength, ultimately. That inner strength drives you, which is what happened to me. And then we tried to settle all places, and mobility allowed me to move. I was lucky enough to go to the South India. I'm basically a Gujarati, but a South Indian Gujarati. Again, think about the blend we can make about Indian diversity among people, cultures, etc. If we just learn how each one contributes. And I learned English in the process, which became my mobility outside of Gujarat, which I very strongly believe that we need to have a learning of a global language now, not attributing to its roots such as a British language or an American language, no nationality at all. It's truly a global language, not just surprisingly for commerce, business, it's a global language for everything. That does not mean we have to give up our languages. It means it is an addition to, and the blending again may be very possible. There are 3-4 things that I think we need to do. First of all, we need to recruit teachers. We have plenty of surplus who have a mission-driven mindset. It's not just a job, but they believe very strongly, because the most influential discipline or an occupation is being a teacher. So the role of a teacher is to unlock the potential of its students, of its colleagues, whatever they are. People remember the teachers from high school days. Mrs. Smith, Mrs. Williams, mostly in America would be women teachers. Mr. Smith, whatever they are, he made a comment or she made a comment. They don't even know how much impact it had positively in my life. We talk about college students and college professors the same way, pretty much. People like us at my age, and I'm 84 almost now, I've taught about 55 years in universities. You find a letter coming 35, 40 years later to say, I was in the audience and what you said made a difference. There's nothing more meaningful in life than that. Making money is not meaningful. And making money without meaning is meaningless. So ultimately, it has to have a mission-driven drive, even though you earn good wages at the same time. Second thing is that I think we need to learn about becoming global citizens through what we do in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. They go through an examination, a certification, but at the same time, they have a very in-depth immersion about how do you become a diplomat, rotating them around, but more importantly, immersing them into the countries where they will be placed. And I think, again, the Vice Chancellor very nicely put, we are not only teaching nursing, but it is nursing and Japanese language, which is very important because if you're going to be placed in Japan, understanding the language itself not only make you survive, but you will make affinity happens with languages. Even in India, we can say, well, I can speak any language, Hindi or English, but when I meet a Gujarati and if I speak in Gujarati, when I meet a Tamil Nadu person and speak in Tamil, for example, or whatever other languages are, the bonding goes much stronger. So I think that's very key, that in addition to occupations, if you're going to place these teachers, they need to learn other languages, not just English, but a German language, for example. Japanese definitely comes out in my mind, but non-English speaking languages would be equally important to study. I think that's very key. Learning another language which is more universal than all of our languages is called information technology. Remember, Fortran is a language. So is most recent one, Python is a language. Software is a language ultimately. So we have to have our teachers totally proficient about not only current generation of technology, software and hardware, but the future emerging generations of technologies, that's going to become very key. I have a very strong view that these teachers should be going abroad on a mission type approach, which means there's a fixed tenure, 3 to 5 years. Mexico sends to America every year 500,000 farmers to do the harvest time, because harvest time needs immediate attention within 2 weeks, 3 weeks. And they come here, special visa is given to them, and they basically work here very hard and take back there. But they learn quite a lot in the process because they do a little more with mechanization here. So that's very interesting that you are temporary, you are not going to settle in the country necessarily. A kind of a model that I think our colleague here, our panel member talked about in Dubai, what they do. It's very important that we have a rotation like in diplomatic corps, so they come back. The reason is that when they come back after 3 to 5 years, they've changed. They're not the same teachers. They taught different cultures, different, what I would call children at a different levels of disabilities even, a lot of emotional traumas, in a different environment. I think they become much richer themselves in the process, which is why I believe very strongly, rather than have them settle in other countries, they should be coming back, like diplomats do. And they are placed again some other place. By the way, this is nothing new. Agriculture, of course, Mexico, but Italians always sent their people to work in steel mills and automobiles all over the world. If you see a steel mill or an iron or something like that in a unique town, whether it's near Toronto, Hamilton, for example, or in Australia, you will see an Italian neighborhood. Of course, we have done the same thing nursing-wise. Philippines generates great nurses. We generate great nurses also at the same time. Indian IT services is the same way today worldwide. If you see an IT professional, which is not typically a white person, it is very likely to be an Indian origin person coming and working on temporary visa like H1 visa in America and similar visas in Germany, Scandinavia, France, etc. I think that's very important. So that's really, I do believe that what we have to study around here is not just expertise, but also wellness and the values. There are 3 ingredients of a very successful teacher. Exceptional teachers have all 3. Non-exceptional teachers may have 1 or 2. Competence, subject matter expertise. If you are a nurse, if you are a doctor, if you are an accountant, if you are whatever who you are, either certified or non-certified, you must have a knowledge base, you understand. That's expertise. But 2 other ingredients that matter very much in teaching profession are empathy. Can you be in the shoes of the audience? And this is again, the point was made by Dr. Gulshan, and I think by everybody, that Northeast has that sense of empathy. That empathy is very important. Listening, empathy. Today, compassion is becoming a dominant word in management even. For example, all the chairman of the board and the managing directors or the CEOs are having empathy given COVID and what people have gone through. So empathy is another dimension that we have to inculcate in people, nurture. That people have empathy, but how do you make it in a more stronger way so people can come with empathy? And the last one, as I mentioned before, is passion. So this is all about how do you create world-class teachers. And I was so pleased from the comment made by my colleague here from Dubai, UAE especially. Indian teachers are loved everywhere. Professors, of course, we know, not only for our teaching, but research. But at the teaching level, if you go to Africa, people remember their Indian teachers. If you go to UAE, Gulf countries, definitely. So we are the best. And my view is that if you are the best, how can you make it even better than best? Which we can with a few additional ingredients. Now the second part, and I'll take about 5 minutes only to talk about, in fact, this National Digital University. I think it is probably one of the best aspirational thing we can do in India, as we have aspired from the independence days to be in the space program, as we have aspired to the Independence Day, more interest into the certain parts of manufacturing that we have done very well, as we have aspired to create platforms like Aadhaar. There's nothing in the world like Aadhaar. If we can do Aadhaar platform with complexity and biometric identity of 1.2 billion or 3 billion people, one can create a world-class national digital university, which is not necessarily a copy of somebody else, but it is the next generation technology, next generation thinking that goes into that one. So the world comes to learn from India how to build future digital universities. To me, that's very key as a goal and objective. And we have done it before in other disciplines. That means other areas, which means we can do it. That's given to me. So it's a next generation digital technologies, not just the coding, for example, or learning languages, but how AI can impact all walks of life. AI can impact medicine, as the presentation was done. AI is impacting us as teachers or professors, our research. Any domain of education, AI is going to be massively involved. So it's all about AI-centric digital learning, for example. Blockchain is here to stay. Another technology that has emerged, more getting distributed responsibility or accountability or transparency. It has to be a foundational things. Just as we teach the 3 R's of learning, reading, writing, and arithmetic, National Digital University has to have similar foundational techniques which are anchored to technology primarily, and the domain matter can subsumed under those technologies, which is a very different way of thinking. And ultimately, it has to be something which has knowledge, but it also provides values. The world is looking for values. Given the acrimony that is taking place in social media, people are simply saying, when will it stop? Is that we all agree upon some fundamental values of what a human being is all about. So how can we give those values? And of course, we all provide wellness. Education and health have always gone together. As teachers, our teachers have to do both understanding wellness. They're primarily psychologists in the classroom. They're doctors in the classroom in many ways. As UAE experience has shown, teaching alone is not sufficient. You are basically a parent surrogate. You are basically a God surrogate in many ways. As we believe very strongly about the role of teacher in a society, I think we have to teach them accordingly to be more holistic themselves. We need to teach know-how as well as know-why. We teach either know-how, which is a vocational skill set, and know-why, which is all about theory, underlying principles, like what we do at the university level, for example. So we need to combine both know-how as well as know-why. I think that's very key. And the last area, of course, is that has to be affordable and accessible. The whole notion is to educate the people on a national level so that their potential is around without any discrimination, without any regional differences, etc. So it truly becomes a national entity. And in my more work in this digital area, I found that what we need to implement is 3 I's of learning, not R's of learning. What are the 3 I's of learning, which can be done in digital platform? One is learning has to be basically interactive. Digital technology allows more interaction. So interactive learning should be, in fact, individualized, personalized. Students are at a different pace. I can manage that in a digital world. And the learning has to be integrated, which means that there's something common between music and math. There is no some such thing as a right brain and a left brain, which we talk about typically. Music is a language, math is a language, software is a language, language is a language. There's something that is common among them. There's a syntax, there's a semantics, there's a pragmatism, which is the use of the language in many ways, as we know. So how can we integrate? Today, we don't even integrate algebra and geometry, for example. There's something much higher level that one can do. So if the learning key is integrated, it is individualized, and it is interactive, which is basically the foundation of the digital technology learning by and large. I will stop here and we can continue, but I must tell you, there's no time better in my life. I grew up as a refugee. You always have a view about survival. I grew up in license Raj, thinking about my potential is unlocked by people. My society doesn't nurture me, even though I got a great education. I'm so grateful education, what I got free totally at Loyola College in Chennai and Jain College for my first 2 years. You think about that one and how much it cost in the Western world and how free I got it, which is the foundation. I feel very strongly that 75 years, what we have achieved is incredible. We have a surplus. $550 billion can cross 1 trillion easily. We are the 3rd largest consumer economy in the world. Probably the best diaspora you have ever found. Any country can be proud of is the Indian diaspora, who is so well integrated, highly respected and admired. Just goes on and on and on. So I need to stop here because I get so passionate about saying we can do it. It's very doable. And I think it's a question of aspiration and a mission-driven view, which this government is very willing to do. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you. So much of wisdom flows all the time. I listen to you. We are so fortunate that you give your patronage, you give your blessings, and so much you have done for Indian education concept, ecosystem, and you are there to develop it further. We started from the National Council for Teacher Education, and we are finishing on the Digital University. And I do not know what all is to be included in that, your competence, your empathy, your passion, and where you talked about AI and future power, artificial intelligence, blockchain, values, wellness, know-how, know-why, affordable and accessible, and those 3 I's also you gave: interactive, individualized, and integrated. I think it sums up the entire ecosystem of the education, what we have to do. There was so much to gain from each one of you this evening. I would now request, finally, before we close the session today, it was a beautiful 1-week marathon. For me, it was great learning. As a humble student, I picked up the best from each one of you. All the visionaries and all the orators and treasures and speakers, those that come, there was so much to learn from them. And finally, we are going to prepare the report under the dynamic leadership of Professor Jagdish Sheth sir, and we send across to the Honorable Prime Minister, including today's deliberation final outcome. And let us set the roadmap for 2047. I share with you once again. Today we are celebrating 75 years, Bharat ki Azadi ka Amrit Mahotsav, but our journey starts for next 25 years, how the education would be 2047, NRIs for educators, global confluence. ICSI will be working with the mission. जितने भी हमारे भाई बहन अब्रॉड गए हैं, भारत से बाहर गए हैं, समस्त विश्व में जहां भी वो हैं, उन सबको इकट्ठा करके और उनके पास जो कुछ भी उनका विजडम है, उनकी नॉलेज है, उसका एक कॉन्फ्लुएंस एक पॉडलॉक सिस्टम में लाकर और उसको आगे एक धरोहर की डायरेक्शन में लेकर चलना। इन्हीं शब्दों के साथ आप सभी का आभार प्रकट करते हुए मैं प्रोफेसर विवेक शंकर नटराजन जी से रिक्वेस्ट करूंगा कि फाइनली ही शुड फॉर्मली प्रपोज द वोट ऑफ थैंक्स। एंड सर, योर एनर्जी इज इनफेक्शियस, इट इज सो कमेंडेबल। आपने आज 3 घंटे दिए हैं, 3 घंटे का समय आपसे मिलना इस एज में, इतने ज्यादा व्यस्त होने के बावजूद, because all the messages of your WhatsApp I read now, I apologize because we overshot the time. I saw it now and my apologies because मैं भावनाओं में इतना बह जाता हूं कि मैं सोचता हूं कुछ ना कुछ निकल के आए और कुछ आगे चले इस दरिया से। सारी नदियां एक समुद्र में मिलती हैं, आप समुद्र हैं, हम सब आपकी तरफ को आकर आप में मिलेंगे। और इन्हीं शब्दों के साथ प्रोफेसर विवेक शंकर नटराजन जी फॉर फाइनली कंक्लूडिंग द होल deliberations.
Namaste Sarvesham Suswagatam. The reason I started with Sanskrit was we had Chamu Krishna Shastri ji who started Samskrita Bharati, and we talk of digital university, but he was a one-man university, you know, literally walking across and traveling across India to spread the beauty of the Sanskrit language. I'm also very indeed, it's a great honor to be on the same panel as the Bhishmacharyas, as we call it, of the management education of in India. Dr. Jagdish Sheth, sir, pranams to you. It's always an honor to be on the same panel. So it's my pleasure, you know, what we call as whenever we, you know, write, whenever there's in the Indian tradition, the scriptures or the slokas start with a Mangalacharan, where we pray for good things. So last week we had the Mangalacharan, and today we have what's called the Palshruti. What is the so what? And so my job is to say the so what, the implications, and also talk a little bit about the vote of thanks. I recognize I'm the last speaker and I don't want to be the least speaker, so I'll make my points very briefly so that at least I kind of anchor on. So last week we started with this premise that we want all the good thoughts for this, for how do we set the agenda for the next 25 years. So when India will celebrate 100 years, what should be the goals and all. And so especially how do we bring a good roadmap for the educators. So that was the premise of the meeting last week. So we've had a wonderful cast of speakers. We've had on last week, Tuesday, we had Preeti Shroffji. She was she's a dean of MICA, and now she's a faculty in the US and Northwest. And so she spoke a lot about using the model like Peace Corps. How do we create a teacher corps? Last Wednesday was a cracker of a session. We had a serial entrepreneur, Dr. Ganesh, and the energy was infectious. You know, even Dr. Sheth was bubbling. You know, I could almost see he had become a 25-year-old in that. That was the kind of energy we had. So wonderful presentation. And then we've had one of the leading scholars of Indian management, again, Dr. Vijay Mahajan, who spoke about digital disruptions. And he talked about, his father's shop in Jammu, and then how the digital crossroads, and how that can, India is definitely leapfrogging on technology, and how I think there was a lot of message how we can. So when we talk of digital university, that this was very useful. Building it built the case for a digital university. We have had Dr. Saxena, who spoke about STEM education. Last but not the least, a fellow colleague of mine, again, another marketing professor and a former president, university president, Dr. Behruz Setna, who spoke about leadership. We've also had the speakers from Canada, and they've spoken about those issues as well. So we've covered a whole gamut of speakers, a lot of topics, and again, a lot of it was happening because of the vision that was given to us by Dr. Sheth. So we're very, very grateful to you, sir. Today, I think a very, very distinguished session. We had a Padma Bhushan awardee and a Padma Shri awardee in the same virtual session. Very hard to come by. Very distinguished teachers. Sir, I also was listening to Mr. Sanjay Avasti, very good vision, very interesting, because a lot of us dream of visions, but on the boots on the ground, he was giving us real implementation challenges. Thank you. Premaji, your message was, your energy levels really perked us up. I think you live in, even, although physically you live in the GCC region, I think your heart is still in Bharat, and that kind of echoes, and you echoed the spirit of many of us. I was listening to his, the Vice Chancellor, even your speech was very scholastic, sir, and you're right. You know, professors cannot make a point in 5 minutes. So I don't know why Gulshanji always makes me talk at the end and say you have to finish in 5 minutes. I don't know whether he thinks of me as a faculty or not. So I'm always challenged. It's a big challenge. So we are always used to expansion. We are not used to contraction. Shilpiji, you're really futuristic about medicine, and that was very useful. I think it set the right context. Thank you. And from there to get into something that's very passionate. All of us are Dharti Putras, and Pandurangji's talk was about rural tourism. Sir, thank you so much. It was very, बहुत बहुत आभार. आपने, हम लोग माँ भारती की बात करते हैं, हम लोग आपने धरती माँ को दिखा दिया, and that is really where the real India resides. The Bharat is where the real India is, as Gandhiji's vision is to be realized. And so it was very inspiring. And then from there we came back to the shores of US, San Diego. Priyaji's presentation, especially about the futuristic health profession and their generous offer from their family, is very commendable. Again, finally, we had the vision that was set by Dr. Sheth on digital university. Again, I think we have put the right seeds today. Again, an agricultural metaphor, and hopefully we will see lush green fields of digital university bloom all over the map in the next years to come. And why will that not happen? Because we have an expert farmer in the form of Dr. Gulshansharma. He's the Sutradhar. I think we all need to be very grateful to him. I know his personal challenges. In spite of his health, he has always, he rebounds, and he's ever a resilient man, a true soldier. So with his vision and the vision of Dr. Sheth, I'm sure the best is yet to come. And Dr. Sheth was telling this is one of the best times to be there. And I can go on and on, but I will just stop with a prayer. And may we all pray that next 25 years will be even a glorious chapter for Bharat Mata. Sarve bhavantu skinah, sarve santu niramayaha, sarve bhadrani pashyantu, ma kashchit dukkha bhag bhavet. Jai Hind, Vande Mataram, Bharat Mata ki jai. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Vivek Shankar Natarajan ji. You are the last because you're the advisor to the chamber from United States, and your role is very important in this entire, क्योंकि आप सारी चीजों को एक सूत्र में बांधकर सबको लेकर चलते हैं. पूरे सप्ताह के जितने भी स्पीकर्स आए और आज जितने भी महानुभाव और जिन्होंने गुणीजनों ने हमारे साथ अपने विचार रखे, आप सभी का बहुत बहुत आभार. और मन से, आत्मा से हम सब लोग प्रयास करेंगे माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जी का जो विजन है और जो उनका सपना है, और अगले 25 साल के लिए 2047 तक भारत की शिक्षा प्रणाली में शिक्षकों के लिए सब कुछ क्या हो सकता है हमारी तरफ से. And with these words, ladies and gentlemen, my deepest gratitude and thanks to you all once again, and very special thanks, very, very special thanks, क्योंकि बाकी सबको तो मैं आशीर्वाद दे सकता हूं, पर वहां से मुझे आशीर्वाद लेना है क्योंकि biologically he is moving in the clock ahead of me. So Professor Jagdish Sheth sir, नमन है आपको और प्रणाम है आपको, और आपकी एनर्जी को, आपकी ऊर्जा को, आपने इतना समय दिया, आपने पूरा सप्ताह दिया और आप आते रहे, और इसी तरह से भारत की उन्नति में, विकास में, आज भारत के 75 वर्ष पूरे होने पर, और भारत की इस सुबह, दोपहर और संध्या हर समय भारत का है. हम सब लोग अच्छे शिक्षकों को तैयार करें, और मैं इस जर्नी को नॉर्थ ईस्ट से शुरू करना चाहूंगा. नॉर्थ ईस्ट इंडिया से हम इसको लेकर चलेंगे. सबसे पहले वहां के बच्चों का एक पायलट प्रोजेक्ट, वो सब चीजों का वर्कआउट करके देन वी मूव टू रेस्ट ऑफ इंडिया. विद दीज वर्ड्स, साइनिंग ऑफ. थैंक यू वेरी मच, and Vande Mataram,